We might be live.
We're live. You're live.
This could be pre-recorded.
You're live. I might be live. I don't know. It said you're live, not I'm live.
Your life. It's my life.
It's my life.
It's now or never.
Wait, I ain't gonna live forever. I think we might have been going for two completely different songs then.
Oh well, whatever.
Oh, hello everyone. How are we? All right. We're here. Hello. Right.
Good day.
Chat, which is not big enough. There we go.
Good afternoon.
Chat, OBS, camera control. I think we're good.
It's 23rd November 2024, and this is Two Guys Talk Tech.
It's a
Bum bum bum.
It's a month until Christmas. That should be illegal.
Woohoo!
But yeah, that's mega scary. But here we are. Two Guys Talking Tech on the YouTube. Snooker on the telly. Glass of cider. Ignoring the rain outside. Hello all. I like the rain when I'm inside. Yeah. If I don't have to go out and do anything, it can rain all day.
Yeah. Are you one of these who enjoys sitting in the bath hearing the rain against the window type aesthetic?
I mean, I don't do baths, but certainly I like rain on the window ambience. I can appreciate this. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very well.
Yeah, like sitting in the bath listening to the rain on the window. That's a very specific. You zeroed in on something very specific there, and today we learned something. Nope, it's YouTube. So refresh. Please dock stats bar.
As far as I recall, you can't.
You can, because I have it docked at home. Also, go away, fly on the screen. Huh.
You can't dock it, close it, go to docks, then click stats.
Oh, I clicked on view stats, not dock stats. That's stupid.
Yeah.
I hate it.
And then you can dock it. Yeah.
Thanks.
Sorry, yes.
Yep.
I formed 2/3 of my sentence, then suddenly went,
yeah,
you'll get the rest, and then stopped.
Oh, that works better on my screen at home where I'm at 1440p and you can just fit all of that in a column.
Yes.
So yeah, actually I'll pop that out and there's no issue, so I'll just close the stats again. Fine. Because at 1440p you can fit the stats above the preview, and it's just really useful to have because it means you can see at a glance whether when everyone goes, oh, it's buffering, you can just look at that and be like, oh, that's me, or you can go, no, that ain't me, chief, refresh.
Yeah.
So yeah. Oh well. Is that the 1 gig fiber connection of the fallback? No, we haven't got that sorted yet.
There are yet more complications on that story.
Yeah.
And it's incredible.
Yeah.
We peel away the layers. We get to a point. We go, we know what we're doing. And then there's more.
I need to get the number out of the system, so I don't need to worry about screwing everything up, and then I just need to go full send and order fiber.
And we're just going to send and order stuff, and things will break somewhere, and it will be
We
unpacked.
spoke to an expert, and an expert said you can't get fiber, and we're like, not calling you a liar, but multiple people are offering us fiber, and there's fiber boxes on the wall. I know you're an expert, and I'm not calling you a liar, but I don't know, man. It looks like I can get fiber. So the only way to find out is just to order a package and find out. But as said, I've got to get the number out of the system first, because their prediction is that if I try and order fiber, the order will get halfway through, and then they'll actually call up and say, actually, we can't get you fiber, so we're going to put you on VDSL.
Or we're going to cancel you.
Yeah. Or we're going to cancel your order. So that's what the expert says is going to happen. And I'm just like, that seems dumb. I'm pretty sure that you can't offer a service that you can't actually provide. But also, you're the expert.
Yeah.
So, whatever. But yeah, so I've got to get my number out of the system so I can actually just pull the trigger on something and just see what happens.
Yeah, just cancel stuff. Get set up. Just experiment and ultimately, hopefully, end up with a service that's actually the service you want at the end, but it might require 9 different companies to get fiber sorted out.
Yeah. Yeah. What a hot mess.
I guarantee it's going to be like the final 45 centimeters is actually the problem. Because we already know that there's fibre in the road.
Yeah, that's just it. Because, like, you know, the expert chap, you know, I said to the expert chap, look, there's fibre boxes on the wall of the building. And he's like, yeah, that doesn't mean they're connected to anything. And I'm just like,
yeah.
Okay, why would you go that far but then not actually connect them to anything, you know?
Yeah.
Or if you can't connect, you know, why would you go that far if it's
Can't
not possible
connect
to
it.
connect it to something? You know?
Especially as this was nearly 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Dumb. Wild. But we will find out.
Yeah.
Eventually.
yeah. We will see. Meanwhile, I've got friends who live in like towns and cities who are just like, oh yeah, I'm going to get gigabit for 30 quid a month, but from one of these altnets. I'm just like, God, that'd be nice, wouldn't it? Meanwhile, in Shaftesbury.
Do you know what's worse? You could live in the town down where our mutual friends do and get altnets there offering you synchronous gigabit.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I hate it. Yeah. Yeah. Hell, apparently Wessex are doing full fibre in Fontmell Magna, which is like 2 houses, a cowshed, and a church.
Yeah.
And I'm just like,
But
Fontmell's got fucking fibre, you know.
yes, it's also last time I looked, £89 a month.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. Yeah.
It's just like, oh, okay.
Yeah. Oh well. Very well. Okay, let's get to the headline topic so we can start tinkering with things while we have a chat. But
Yes.
Caradog did crimes and got a 265K. Oh, that's why I was getting it wrong, because I was typing in 256K. Fair enough. I was going to make a gag that when I was looking up the actual full name of the CPU, so I typed in Intel 256K, and it came up with a Celeron. And I was going to make a really snarky remark about how stupid the naming convention is, that when I actually try and search for it, it pops up with an old Celeron. But it's not a 256K, it's a 265K. So that was my bad. My joke is ruined, and this entire segment is terrible. And now I'm going to drop it and never talk about it again.
Whoops.
So you bought a new Intel CPU.
Yes, a Core
So,
Ultra.
I thought you
265.
cancelled all of your orders for this because you ordered one and then it
I
wasn't
did.
available. What happened?
Because the 285 just doesn't exist
Oh yeah, you
in
were
this
trying to get
country.
it to 285.
It just
Okay.
does not exist in this country
Yeah.
in any meaningful fashion. I got annoyed and cancelled that order. But the 265K exists plentifully in stock. And
Because no one's buying it, yeah.
Scan may have sold 3 in the past week.
Oh, yeah.
So,
Yeah.
oh dear.
It's so bad. It's so bad. Okay, so, yeah, so for reasons unknown, Caradog was just like, yeah, well, I'm going to buy one of these. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know what he's going to do with it yet. So but also on a more interesting note, we've got a quite interesting motherboard to put it in.
Yes.
Which I'm certainly a lot more excited about. You know.
Yeah.
We've put it up on the test bench, and I guess you're just gonna rag it for a bit today, and we're just going to use this as a launching off point to talk about just the absolute state of Intel right now, and also just an interesting motherboard and such. So we've got some of that, and you know, if we run out of stuff to do, then there's some more bits and pieces I might move to a bit later on. So yeah. So let's talk about the motherboard slightly. So bench cam with face. So the motherboard. So the motherboard is a Z890 Taichi OCF. Is that?
Yes.
Yeah.
OCF being OC formula.
I see. Cool.
I'm just going to do that to show the bottom of the board off as well in the top of the frame. There we go.
I'm just going to raise the camera just a scooch actually, because the intention was to have the whole motherboard in shot, but because it's portrait. There we go.
Da, 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 da.
And I'll just tweak the alignment of that in a sec just so it's straight. Yeah. So yeah, and this motherboard is actually kind of interesting. So yeah, did you say the motherboard was about £400?
Yes.
Please stop wobbling, camera. It's probably mostly the table. Okay, anyway. In fact, yes, it's the table. Never mind. Please peel it, says Retro or New.
No.
Yeah,
Shan't.
I was going to say, that's not a fight you're going to win with Caradog. Yeah. I hope you don't drink the Glühwein.
Glutwine.
I don't know. Glühwein? I think I've offended most of the chat now. Anyway,
Glutwine.
I'm just going to call it glow wine because that's what it translates to. We're not going to have it cold. We're not actually going to drink any of it today because I don't have the we don't have the stovetop thing in. However, we're going to save it for next week and then we're going to warm some of it up. And yes, we're absolutely not going to drink it cold. So yes. But anyway, so board was about 400 quid. But yeah, it's an overclocking board. But also it's sort of an overclocking board that is like £400 is not...
420 total.
420. Okay, yeah. And like that's not bonkers for how expensive just modern mid to high end boards are. Like
Yeah.
any mid-range board is going to run you 200 quid. Or 200 to 250 quid.
Yeah.
So 400 is not bonkers money. So, and this is an overclocking board with all the overclocking bells and whistles, which you could actually conceivably have as a daily driver. Whereas a lot of overclocking boards are like £700 boards, you know, like the Asus X570 one, the what was it? The Crosshair Elite, Crosshair Extreme.
Yes.
Yeah, like
and
the Crosshair
also,
Extreme. That was an overclocking board, but also that was like an £800 motherboard.
Yeah.
You know,
Which is just
that's it.
daft.
Yeah. So yeah, and absolutely, you know, folks are saying sort of like, oh, anything over $200 is a no-go. Yeah, you can absolutely get cheaper boards. Don't get me wrong, but this is not ridiculous considering that you know high-end boards go up to £1,000 these days. So yeah, while it's not necessarily, you know, this isn't a motherboard that I would buy personally, but as a thing that exists, I think it's quite interesting, and it's got lots of fun overclocking tools, which we figured we'd have a look at and do and like showcase it and go, hey, look at these cool features that these modern overclocking boards have.
Yeah.
This is a thing that exists, you know. So yes. You won't Turnip Gaming, thank you for the £5. You won't regret upgrading to fibre. Games and downloads are way faster. You went from 30 meg copper to 150 meg fibre. Yes, I've used fibre connections before and they're amazing. I was at a LAN party last weekend and at my friend's house, and he's got gigabit, and just, you know, people were just
I'm surprised he only has gigabit.
Yeah. But at any rate, you know, we were like, oh, we're going to play X. And I'm just like, oh, I don't have that downloaded. He's like, dude, I got gigabit. Just hit download. And it was just like 30 gigs. Brrr. And I was like, okay, that's pretty cool. I could get used to that, you know. So yeah.
When I first got my gigabit line, it was just the fact that I just realised that unpacking games from Steam, one of my SSDs was too slow.
Yeah.
And was actually throttling my internet connection.
Yeah.
I was just like, when you're in that situation where your SSD is too slow for the data transfers of the unpacked data.
Yeah. Yeah.
That'll do.
Yeah. Willibob says 420 isn't a bad price. Yeah, it is. Well, consider the feature set of this motherboard. If you actually want to run fast memory, like I mean actually fast memory, then you need a higher end board. So that's the thing. It's just when I say 420 is reasonably priced, like I say, you can buy cheaper motherboards. Like I'm not saying this is good value for money.
Yeah,
but
for the class of motherboard, basically 2 dimmers.
Yeah.
But like it's a good price because the Asus one's what, like 700?
Yeah, like this is the kind of motherboard where you can run your memory at like what, 9,000 mega transfers?
I'm hoping for 10.
Yeah.
I'm hoping, that people will post validations at like 10.
Yeah. So when you buy your £200 motherboard and you run your DDR5 at 6,000 megatransfers, that's adorable. But that's not what this board is for. So when you factor that in, £420 is reasonable. Like I say, I'm not saying this is...
It's very much a case of it's reasonable for the category of motherboard that it is. It's not supposed to be good value.
Yeah. When you're building a £1,000 gaming PC, no, you don't buy this motherboard.
Yeah.
But yes, so that's what we mean by good or bad pricing. Obviously, everything is relative. So yeah.
Yeah.
So yes, it's good value in a sense that this is a board where you'll actually post. This is an extreme overclocking motherboard. And doing extreme overclocking on a motherboard that costs less than 500 quid is pretty good going, all things considered. So yeah, I think the last time we really saw that was probably stuff like the X570 Aorus Master S, which was one of the high boards for X5, because that was what, 300, 350, that motherboard?
Yes.
And we all know that like motherboards have basically gone up by about £100 in the past generation, haven't they? Because of DDR5 spec.
Again.
Yeah, and again,
and also all of the USB 4 and the PCIe Gen 5 and so on as well.
And like we can bitch and moan that motherboards cost too much these days, but they cost a lot because we also want to have 20 gigabit USB and super high speed DDR5 memory and stuff like that. That costs money. They have to do. You can do this on a 6-layer board, but you have to do a lot of exotic board manufacturing to actually achieve that. And boards like, I'm guessing this is an 8-layer.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Might be 10.
Oh, yeah, there you go. If you're up to 10-layer, then just slap another £100 onto the price for just being a 10-layer board now,
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I can't see an easy counter because quite a lot of the boards will have a counter here, or down here.
It's usually in the corner somewhere, isn't it?
Yeah.
Actually, just for the sake of just demonstrating what we're talking about, I'm just going to grab another random board that will probably have one.
Yeah. I've only seen it on some of them.
Yeah.
Excellent.
This is an example of one. This isn't an ideal example, but this is what we're talking about. If we... hang on a sec. Can you cite me, please?
Can I...
There we go. Oh, yeah, that's good enough. So you see there's 2 little boxes. One of them's got a 1 in it. Is that visible?
Yes.
Yep. So there's 2 boxes there. That's got a box and a 1. Then if I flip it over on the back, there's another 2 boxes, and that's blank and a 4. So that's indicating that this is a 4-layer motherboard. So that's an example of it. And sometimes you'll see that where the boxes and the numbers are actually cutouts of the copper layers. So it's actually showing layer 1, 2, and then you flip it over and then you see 3, 4, and so on and so forth. I'm going to grab another board just because that is an example, but it's not a great example.
Also just, the fact that was actually reasonably obvious is quite impressive.
Yeah, that one's got the boxes on as well. That's the same. Let's see one if we've got one that's actually got the cutout, because the cutout is the good example.
I can't think of anything I've actually seen the cutout on. It's only the first time seeing it for me as well.
Oh, there you go then. Yeah.
Like I
don't think this one has it. Yeah. Last try, and that's exactly the same motherboard because I've got 2 of them. Don't ask why. I'm just collecting grotty old boards.
Collecting grotty old.
Last try.
Oh yeah, I'd expect it to be on there.
Oh, there we go. There's a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is a 6-layer boy. Yeah, which makes it another great example. So this is the Z87 M Power. This is the bonkers 4th gen Intel board with the 20 power stages on it. So this is a 6-layer board because, as you can see, we've got a row of layers there, and you can actually see how some of those layers are different shades. Oh, hold on. Let me just grab a torch because then I can.
Yeah, because I think you can shine through.
Yeah. This is a complete tangent that we're talking about here, but also it's just an interesting thing. Whoops.
Oh, yeah.
Oh. There you go. So you can see how that light is shining through in different values as it's shining through the different layers of the board. So we've got a 1, 2, 3 are the lit up ones.
Yeah.
And then 4, 5, 6 will be on the back of the board. And then on the back of the board, we've got 4, 5, and 6, which will be there somewhere. You get the idea.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's how you can see the layers in a motherboard. Not all of them have it, but yeah, that's what we talk about with board layers. And more complicated boards, again, like this. What was this guy that was a 4-layer? So this is a cheap AM3 board.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I know, right?
I thought it was like a B450 HS.
No, this is some
HDV
grotty
or something.
Yeah, so this was a cheap AM3 M80X board in the day, so it's a 4-layer board because it's cheap. 6 layers for 4th gen Intel was, I'm not going to say it's exotic, but it shows that this is a fairly serious board because it's a 6-layer. Because obviously, more layers is more expensive. If they can get it down to a 4-layer, they will. And then obviously now on modern motherboards, when you're running high-speed memory signals, when you're running lots of high-speed memory signaling, those signal traces are really, really sensitive, and you need big flat ground planes around them to shield them from the noise of the VRMs and stuff like that. So you have to have huge sections of the motherboard that are just no entry areas because that's near memory signal traces. So if you want really high-speed RAM, then you have to have a big 10-layer board and just have a massive ground plane on both sides of the signal traces. So suddenly you get into the realms where in order to get the motherboards up to that speed, you have to go up to 10 layers. And now you've got a 10-layer circuit board, which is now you require exotic manufacturing processes, and so on and so on. So yeah. So yeah, that's what that's all about.
But yes, this Gigabyte. This is a Gigabyte GA-78LMT-USB 3 because AM3 didn't have native USB 3. So there's a separate USB 3 controller under here.
FX was good. No, it wasn't. It was all bad. Phenom 2 was okay. Phenom 2 was good. Bulldozer onwards, it was all bad. It was all terrible. I was there. I'm not being a dick about it. I was there. It was terrible. You
suffered for so long.
All of my friends, and by friends I mean Caradog, had Intel and their computers were faster than mine. And I will die on this hill. I did die on this hill. And then by the time I switched to Intel, it was just as Ryzen was coming in.
I like the fact that you switched. You were just like, I'm so done with AMD.
Yeah.
I'm never buying AMD again. And then bought 9th gen.
No,
or 8th gen.
Yeah.
And then bought 8th gen. And then everyone was just like, yeah, but Ryzen 2000's faster.
Yeah.
And you were just like, I don't care.
Yeah. And don't get me wrong, like, I think the 8600K that I bought, it wasn't a bad purchase per se.
Not.
But had I bought 2nd gen Ryzen...
Oh God, you could have put a 5800X3D in that.
Exactly. I would have, I would have been buying into AM4 just as it was getting good. Like, I guess that would have been an X370.
No, but it would be an X470.
Really?
Yeah, because I bought a
2700X
and my X470 Gaming 7.
Oh, fair enough then. Yeah. Well, there you go then. I would have bought an X470 board and I would have been set for the next 5 years. So yeah. Like,
madness.
I ended up switching midway through anyway, just because Ryzen just seemed like a far more interesting platform to be on. So I ditched my. So that's the motherboard and 8600K in that PC now. But yeah, so nah.
I will give it one thing: that motherboard looks dramatically more interesting than the equivalent AMD one of the era.
That was a hecking cool motherboard. Yeah. I love that motherboard. It's why I haven't gotten rid of it, because I just really like that motherboard.
Yeah.
It's a really cool board. I've got a video of me building that, and the first time I turned it on, it all lit up with the white LEDs all over it. I was like, oh, look at that. It's just, because this was the height of the RGB madness. That motherboard is RGB central. Everything on it lights up. And if you like RGB, you'll like this board, And because everything on it lights up, it was like even the memory slots light up and everything. It's just like, I love it. Meanwhile, all the RGB haters are like, "It's stupid, I hate it." So yeah, because they're boring.
Mine's faster.
Yeah, because it's got RGB. But yeah. Anyway, so I guess we should build this up and turn it on, eh?
It's about that time, eh, chaps?
Righto.
Damn it.
Good job. Right, while you unbox that, I'm going to look at the chat.
Box.
Let's see. 10 layers not as expensive as it was, getting cheaper and more common. Okay, yeah, that's fair. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's also just a case of it is an
Still
additional
more
expense.
expensive, but
yeah,
yeah.
sorry, that should have been a case of
these
it's
are
an additional expense over, say, 4 or
Yeah.
6 layer,
That's right.
not the only reason.
Yeah.
Yeah,
This and 20 gigabit USB controllers and stuff like that, these are all the contributing factors that are the reason why the new generation motherboards just all cost more than the previous gen motherboards did.
And
It's not just a new PCH.
and possibly slightly higher margins,
Yeah, probably. Yeah, like
which is
I'm not going.
somewhat understandable because the motherboard manufacturers were saying, we were, earning
A pittance.
insert number here, but it was like 2% or 5%
Yeah,
on a board, and it's just kind of like,
yeah.
that just doesn't really work when there's so many costs through the life of the board.
Don't get me wrong, I'm not going to bat for companies who doubtless have increased prices because they saw an opportunity to do so.
Oh, yeah.
But at the end of the day, they are in business to make money, so yeah. Okay, let's see. Sleepwalker says, have a Dell Latitude 7400. Problem is a few times been getting memory exception error on shutdown. Ran extensive RAM testing using mem test and have found no faults. Last latest SSD 100% health. Yeah. SSD.
Just the Windows install itself.
Yeah, different Windows install, different SSD. Check the BIOS battery. Ooh.
It's longer and narrower.
Yeah, I mean the previous ones were, weren't they? Or
Yeah,
they,
no, compared to
even longer and
1700.
narrower than.
Yeah,
yeah.
compared to 1700, it's slightly narrower.
What socket is this again?
This is socket 1851,
Ah, okay, yeah, yeah.
which is cooler compatible with 1700.
Yes. Ugh.
Yes. The other thing as well that Intel have done for this generation, or this socket revision, is they have made a reduced pressure loading mechanism, which is helping slightly with the deformation of the CPUs.
Okay.
So you get slightly better contact and less convexity.
Yes, that makes sense. Yeah, yeah. Tony Gaming also said, what you're saying is the motherboard in the data recovery rig looks magnificent. It surely does, especially because it's in the Heckenly Anley as well. I like that computer, it's cool. It doesn't get enough attention, but like...
Ha!
Oh!
I don't like doing that.
No, me either.
I am never doing that again.
But everyone shouts at me if I take it off first.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. There's early videos of me just saying, right, just remove that and then put the CPU in. There's lots of comments going, you're not supposed to take it off. I'm just like, okay. You know?
Guess what? I did.
Yeah. Oh, there is paste there somewhere.
Yeah. There's also something else there.
Yep. No. Oh, yeah,
There
you
you
got
go.
it. Yep. Hello, Mike's Unboxing. Nice board. You got the MSI Z890 Edge TI Wi-Fi 7. It's a stellar board. Shame about the CPUs. Yeah. Like, by the looks of things, there are some lovely motherboards available for these CPUs. Just the chips are crap.
Friggin'. There we go.
Okay.
Look up the MSI
Hello, Paul Daniels as well.
Carbon
MSI Carbon. Okay.
and look at the USB ports on that.
Z870 Carbon.
I can't remember if it's the Z871 or if it's the
Z270 Gaming Pro
or if
Carbon,
it's the X870. I can't remember.
X870E Carbon Wi-Fi.
Yeah, that one.
MPEG.
Um,
God, I love it when I've got to scroll down about 3
What?
pages to find a picture of the motherboard.
hell is going on
Hang
here?
on a sec. I'm just going to scroll to the top. Okay, it has actually. Okay, it hadn't loaded properly.
yeah.
I
If,
hate-
if you click gallery, it
Yeah.
will hopefully shortcut
Yeah.
the majority of that. There we go.
Yeah.
Look at those USBs.
Oh my god. Okay, right. Hold on. Let's just put this over here, and let's just go desktop with face.
Hello.
Yeah. Oh, look at that. Look at everything on the back. It's beautiful. So we got 6 USB 3s, 7, 8, 9 USB 3s, 9 USB 3s, 4 Type Cs,
Yeah.
and you've got flashback, clear CMOS, and a smart button, which presumably is just a program to do whatever you want it to do.
Program it to
Yeah.
stuff.
And they've still crammed onboard HDMI on there as well. And it's got SPDIF out on it as well, which I kind of appreciate. Yeah, line out, mic in, and optical.
Dozens of us. Dozens.
Yeah. Well, my new the reason why I say this is that my new board, my B650, doesn't have it, so I've had to switch back to just a 3.5mm headphone jack output to my speakers. And like, I don't think that's actually made a meaningful difference in the quality of my audio, but it just, I don't know. Yeah. I don't know what I'm doing with the audio from my computer. I want something other than what I have, but what I have is still pretty decent. So, I need to bring it in at some point because the backlight. So I have a 5.1 surround system at home that I've had for years and years and years. Bench count, there it is. Yeah, I've got a 5.1 surround system at home, and the receiver for it with the LCD screen on it, the LEDs that backlight the LCD have both failed, so you can't see the screen anymore.
Did you retrofit blue ones in there?
No, I did not. I have not touched it. However, yeah, and I kind of didn't bother doing anything with it because I was like, oh, I'm probably going to stop using this or replace it at some point, but I kind of haven't. So I'm tempted to bring that in and like actually just repair it because they're still really good speakers. And yeah, like I kind of want a sound bar or something like that, but like I don't know where I would put a sound bar either, so it doesn't even solve my problem of just, yeah, I don't know. All right, heading back to chat. Hello, Katrina, how you doing? Given the new Intels are less powerful but very efficient, is air cooling them a thing again? Probably. But
I mean, they use less. They use less power.
but
I
their
don't know.
peaks are still just as high, aren't they?
Well, but it's also the case of I don't know if they count as efficient. Just they use less power, but they also
Yeah.
provide less performance. So it's not necessarily efficient.
Yeah.
They just use less power.
Yeah. Yeah. It might be interesting to have a look and see if we can sort of simulate like 50% load or something like that by throwing certain workloads at it and just seeing what the power draw is at certain load levels. That might be very interesting. Because I think mid looking at like 50% load is an interesting place to look because looking at maximum power draw isn't the full picture. Someone said at the very start of the stream that these CPUs idle at really low power, and like I think that's an interesting point as well. Like one of the comments I made to Caradog when I borrowed your 7900 XTX graphics card, I was like, yeah, this has the TDP on this is like 50 watts lower than my 4080. However, in an actual gaming workload where you're hanging out at like 50-60% average GPU load fluctuating, my 4080 actually uses less power. Whereas the 7900 XTX, as soon as it gets to like 40% load, it's sucking back 300 watts. And so it's a case of like the TDP on it is lower, so people go, oh, it uses less power, and everyone takes the piss out of NVIDIA for using 1 billion watts. But actually, when you look at real life uses, they're doing their best and they're actually not too shabby. They're not pulling that TDP unless you're benchmarking.
Yeah.
Which is not what you're doing day to day.
Yeah,
So-
the power usage on the like 7900 XTX is also just high anyway.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah,
So
in a
but-
reasonably default profile, you can get it to like 550 watt.
Yeah. So certainly, and so the point being, so like with the CPUs, I think it's an interesting point to go. Okay, yeah, if we bash this over the head with a 100% load, it's probably going to spike up to 350 watts, and we'll all laugh at it and be like, ha 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 ha! Imagine running Intel in 2024. But also, like, if at 50% load, it's sucking back 70 watts, then that's not too shabby, you know? Like, if it takes 300 watts to get that last 10% out of it, then it's not as bad as everyone makes out, as said.
Yeah, it's kind of the thing, you know, with almost every CPU. It's a case of if you're willing to sacrifice a few percent, you can generally reduce a reasonable amount of the power usage.
Yeah. Folks in chat are saying, "Oh, is ASRock a good? Are ASRock a good brand of motherboard?" And this is actually a subject that Caradog and I were talking about before we started today. Is because we pulled this motherboard out the box just to check that we had the mounting gear for the cooler and stuff like that, and we were sort of commenting about it, going, "Wow, look, this is pretty nice. Look at all these features. This is cool. I like this." And we were saying, like, you know, ASRock have always been a bit of an underdog. You know, everyone's just like, haha, more like ASRock. But, like, they've got pretty good motherboards now. They did the previous generation, and their current ones are pretty good. And, like, you know, Gigabyte seem to be a bit of a flop for their AM5 motherboards right now. There's, you know, the B650 ones are okay, but as we've discovered, the Gigabyte X670 boards are just a bust.
Yeah, several of them are.
We're not really fans of Asus for multiple reasons. MSI are not too shabby, but like ASRock, it really feels like their time is here.
Yeah.
You know, and like the Tai Chi boards have always had an interesting aesthetic to them that I appreciate. I'm not a fan of the yellow accents on this board, but, you know, I don't know. I like ASRock. I'm willing to give them the benefit of the doubt right now.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think ASRock are okay. I'm not going to say that all of their boards are good, but you could say that about any brand, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, their ARGB software is god awful. Yeah, so is everyone's though. ARGB software is awful.
Luckily, you can generally go into the BIOS and go disable and fix the problem.
Or you can use something like OpenRGB, and well, that's kind of jank as well, but it's better than using the big software suites, you know. So yeah. All right. Let's see. What graphics card is that? I'm glad you asked, Harriscom. This is a GTX 980 so it didn't get fixed on stream, unfortunately. However, many moons ago on one of the streams, we were diagnosing this very graphics card that had an exploded VRM on it. Gurgle, gurgle. One of the MOSFETs on it had gone explode, but the memory was still good. And yeah, we went and had a chat with Muerto, and he's put a new MOSFET on it, and it works again, hopefully. We say, having not gotten a picture out of this system yet. However, it's posting and stuff. So yeah, we figured we'd lob that on. Hey, it's posted. Let's go to capture with face. Huzzah. GTX 980, what is this, Antiques Roadshow? Yes, and this is the point where I go, yeah, yes, that's worth about £60, Mr. Brody. And you go, wow.
Wow.
Well, it's really about the sentimental value, isn't it? Very good.
Wow.
Wow. I'm referencing something with that, but it's really obscure and no one will understand it. Cool. I assume we've got the Ghost Spectre SSD in there. Yeah.
Yeah, it's got the quote unquote bench SSD in there.
God. Getting devices ready. I love it. Okay. While this messes about, I'm going to... I might adjust the capture on this just to punch in on the motherboard so we can see the motherboard diagnostic LEDs while we're on the capture screen. I'm going to put the kettle on in a minute and have one of my stupid instant mocker things.
Oh, you're going to be one of them.
Yes. However, I'm going to adjust the capture here first. So what I'm going to do, let's see. Insert, right, duplicate that. Can we duplicate this? Copy. I have no idea what the difference between a paste reference and a paste duplicate is, but there we go. Right, I'm going to, as a special treat, I'm going to go into studio mode so I can do this without screwing up what you guys are seeing. Right, bam. Oh, reset transform. I've ruined it. I can never remember the shortcut keys for this. Shift? Which one is crop again? Control Alt? Nope. Shift Alt? There it is, Shift Alt. It's something, whatever. All right. I don't know whether that's useful or not, but that's what I'm going for. All right. Okay, right. I am going to put on the kettle. And Caradog, why don't you tell the people what you're up to now?
Have a UEFI.
It's a UEFI.
Yeah.
You've unlocked the character that's really easy to miss. UEFI.
Huh?
Someone will understand that reference.
What? I have no idea what's going on here, but that's fine. Yes.
I'm now gonna anger everyone who understood that reference by saying Final Fantasy VII is overrated. Anyway.
I see. Yes. Basically, all I'm going to do is go into the OC tweaker and see if there is an XMP option. And then go, huh, XMP. Ah, nice. It literally lists the XMP profiles as well. So it tells you this, profile 1 is this, profile 2 is this, profile 3 is this.
Oh, neat, yeah.
When you actually load it.
Yeah, because like lots of motherboards have a profile 1, profile 2 option, but like everyone always says, which profile do I select?
Yeah.
Because it doesn't actually tell you what any of those profiles are. And like, I'm pretty certain like the box on the RAM probably doesn't tell you what the profiles are either. So the fact that this motherboard actually decodes them and actually says, this is what the profiles are in the RAM, that's kind of nifty. So what have we got there? So the time, it looks like the main timings on them are all identical. It looks like it's just different speeds depending on how hot you want to run. But I wonder if the secondary or tertiary timings on those are all different.
Yeah, I wonder, but it's also a case of I'd imagine it's purely a speed thing on this.
Yeah. Mike says, I've got a Core Ultra 245K here and I really can't get inspiration to actually install it on a £300 motherboard. Yeah, the new Intel CPUs are they're just not exciting. I guess this kind of segues into, again, one of our headline topics is just like, you know, Intel have just done a pretty major launch and no one cares.
Yeah.
Like, it's another flop for Intel, and like everyone goes like, oh, there's no way that Intel are going to fail, but like, how long can they bleed for? Like,
I mean, they have no money. They have had no money for a reasonable while.
And like also like a while back, I was just like, oh yeah, but you know, US government are getting Intel to do stuff for them. But apparently, I seem to remember I saw someone say, oh no, they've pulled all of those projects now. Citation needed. But it's just like, Yeah, and this is, in a way, it's extremely funny, but also it would be bad if Intel exploded.
Yeah.
Because, like, when AMD exploded, Intel got crap. Or at the very least, Intel got complacent and hubris. And if Intel explodes, you think AMD aren't above the same thing. You know, something corporations are not your friends. So, yeah, I don't know. So but I think the bigger question is just like, could Intel actually explode? Because this is another launch and it's another flop. Have they got anything going on in their enterprise space right now?
Not really.
Yeah.
And enterprise space is, from what I'm aware of, is okay by market share, but obviously they have zero margin on any of it. So actually it's causing them to functionally lose money on that.
Yeah. Yeah, they're just trading at the moment. They're holding their market share by not making any money, but which is better than not having any market share. But on the flip side, you know, at some point, in order to start making money, they're going to have to charge more. And people don't want to pay more because AMD have a more competitive product.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. New Intel Xe2 onboard graphics is giving AMD a run for their money. That's a positive for Intel. What? This is a K-SKU. Yeah, this has got onboard graphics, hasn't it? Yeah, has this got Xe2 onboard graphics? What does this have for graphics? Because, like, that's an interesting question because, like, obviously, the obvious response to that is who cares about onboard graphics? But as I said when the 5600G came out, I think, I'm still interested in a CPU that has onboard graphics that's good enough for quote-unquote esports. Because that means cheap gaming PCs. Like that means a £500 gaming PC. If there's a CPU with onboard graphics that's good enough for esports, you're like, you know, if it'll run Valorant, if it'll run, you know, then yeah. And we still haven't had anything that's actually viable for that, but it could be super interesting. Also, again, you know, like obviously Xe2 on a mobile CPU is not going to be the same, but again, this also unlocks the idea of cheap gaming laptops that don't need a discrete GPU.
Yeah.
So that's still an interesting prospect, not because it's good compared to a full-blown graphics card, but because it makes PC gaming accessible at a time where right now, when people come in and they go, "I want a gaming PC," you say, "Cool, that's going to be £800 and up." If you're buying brand new, you know.
Yeah. In answer to the... Hold on. Where I had these numbers. I must continue scrolling. I don't care about VRAM bandwidth. Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
In 3D Mark Solar Bay, which is one of the ray tracing benchmarks.
Yeah.
The HX 370, so the newest Ryzen 9, gets 15,400, and the Core Ultra 258V, which is the top end one, gets 13,151.
Yeah, so at the top end, AMD are still ahead.
Yeah.
But that's in ray tracing though, and yeah, I doubt.
Yeah.
Like, I mean,
in Cyberpunk.
Yeah, I was going to say
1080p very low.
I think like no one's running ray tracing at this level.
No, but in Cyberpunk 1080p very low, the HX 370.
Yeah. At the AMD.
Yeah, is 48.3 FPS.
Yeah.
Whereas the Ultra 7 258 is 39.34.
Okay. Yeah, so AMD are ahead at that top end then, but Intel are not down and out at least.
Yeah.
Yeah. But then, of course, again, it's just why would you not buy the best to that extent?
Yeah.
If on the assumption that this scales across the stack, so if the mid-range ones are also at a similar disparity.
Yeah, and in a different comparison, the Ryzen 7 7840HS has a score of 453, so last gen AMD versus the Core Ultra 7's 410. So in some applications, in some games, the new Core Ultras are slower than the previous gen AMD laptop parts as well.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of a case of they're roughly there or thereabouts.
Yeah.
But it's certainly a case that it's not something you'd choose over something else particularly. Yeah.
Yeah. So just going to skim through the chat again. I'm going to go backwards because there's some interesting ones. Mike says you'd buy the Intel iGPU because the main processor won't be gimped like the AMD G series for PCI Express and cache. Possibly, but also that's not the case for the new AM5 ones, because the new AM5 AMD chips just have onboard graphics now. You don't have to have a G SKU for that. They just have it. So, like, that was true for previous gen stuff, but
it's also true for the AM5 G series, because the AM5 G series has only PCIe Gen 4, has 4 fewer lanes, and has half the cache.
Oh, I see. And those G series have better graphics than, say, a 7800 X3D per se.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So in which case, yeah, that does stand then. So, yeah, you'd get a strong CPU as well as having the pretty good onboard graphics. So, yeah, that certainly scans. Yeah. And also, like, better support for QuickSync and stuff like that might factor into your requirements. And that kind of ties into Danielle Emberley said, has anyone done a major corporate 500 computer refresh that does not use Intel? I don't know. However, that's a very interesting point, because obviously, the consumer space is a niche. What matters is what big corporate companies are doing. When an office block refreshes 500 or 1,000 Office PCs and they buy a bunch of Dell Optiplexes, probably going to have Intels in them. And that's where the big sales come in. And certainly, again, that's also the same people who might be like, we need them to have QuickSync because our workflow is optimized for QuickSync. So but that could still be Intel's saving grace.
The counterpoint to that is that's still going on currently, and Intel is still losing money. Therefore, it doesn't matter whether people are buying 500 of them or a million of them. They're not making any money. They're not making any money. They're losing money.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter what anyone's doing. They're losing money.
Yeah. The AM5 on board is only 2 CUs, so not able to game. Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, I think so the AM5 default onboard graphics is just, multimedia graphics per se.
Yeah, it allows you to build an office box without a graphics card, absolutely fine.
Which is what they needed, to be honest, because that was one of the annoying things about a lot of AM4 Ryzen's is, if you wanted to build an office box with them, as you did, you had to lob a bunch of cheap graphics cards in there for video out. So, yeah. Yeah, big sales do not translate to big profits. Yeah. And also, someone else earlier on in the chat mentioned how Apple is also a player. We talked about, if we don't want a single thing market, but also now we have Apple as an option. And
not if you don't want to use macOS, though.
True. Yeah, that does require macOS.
In a really offensive statement, not if you want an operating system that works for not media creation.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. But obviously this does, as people have been saying, the new Mac Mini is actually pretty good bang for buck at its base spec.
Damn.
So, yeah, there's certainly points of interest there.
Or not.
Have you considered using the mouse?
Oh, weird. Yeah, but it was just the fact of, obviously, I should have just been able to keyboard shortcut quite easily there, but I failed. But yeah, I thought I had a shortcut to reboot to UEFI, but I didn't copy it across.
Terrible.
Yeah.
Very well. Right. So what have you configured thus far? Have you just
I
banged
literally
in?
just enabled XMP.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, and it just booted at 8200, which is what you'd expect.
Yeah. When we were, oh yeah, everything was broken anyway, wasn't it? I was about to say, when we were running these RAM kits on the AMD system the other day, like, did we actually get them to up to native speed?
I got to 7800.
Yeah. That was with a lot of bullying, though.
Not massive amounts
Okay.
for the actual memory speed, but it was a lot of bullying just to get the board to function.
Yeah,
so obviously it's a completely irrelevant comparison because of that.
Because obviously what would have been an interesting point of contention is just, it's a case of, okay, so cool, this just banged straight up to 8200 RAM. Could you have done that in a cheaper board, you know? And it's like, maybe. Yeah. So, yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. Okay. Right, I am going to go and carry on making my stupid mocker. I will be right back.
Oh, interesting. Oh, that's kind of cool.
What is all those mid steps? Yeah.
So what you've got?
Also, what is that symbol? Is that a 4?
Yes. Yeah. So what you have for that 4 is, as it says here in the bottom right that you've covered up with the bench cam.
Okay. Yeah.
Frequency equals ratio times gear times clock. Superscript 4 means gear 4 is supported. If auto is selected, the motherboard will detect the memory modules inserted and automatically select the appropriate frequency. So what you have in the Intel memory controller for 12th, 13th, 14th and Ultra 2200 series, 15th gen, is the memory controller can work in gear 1, gear 2 or gear 4.
Yeah.
Gear 1 is your memory clock is 2000, your memory controller clock is 2000. Gear 2 is your memory clock is 2000, your memory controller clock is 1000.
Yeah.
And gear 4 is your memory clock is 2000, your memory controller clock is 500. So like on AMD, where you have UCLK equals mem clock, that's gear 1 mode, effectively, and UCL equals /mem, or whatever it was, that is gear 2 mode, which is the memory controller works at half the speed of the megahertz of the RAM. So then gear 4 is a quarter of the speed.
Yeah, so the idea here is that you're putting in lower gear ratios to the memory controller so the memory can run faster without the controller running out of steam.
Higher gear ratios.
Yes, sorry, sorry, the number goes down, but the number goes up, so we're going to higher gears so the memory controller doesn't have to try and keep pace with the memory as it gets faster and faster, because the memory is getting exponentially faster and it's not reasonable. Like, if you're running your memory up to 10K, it's not reasonable to expect the memory controller to actually maintain that level of speed. So so then I guess the question is if the memory controller is running at half the speed, is there any point in the memory running at high speeds? But I guess in the meantime, it can still be doing its refreshes and its lookups while the memory controller lines up the next instruction, can't it?
No. Because the module is dumb. The module can't do anything.
Yeah.
The module can only do stuff when it's told to do stuff.
I'll rephrase this. Let's say that we've got the memory controller running at 1000 megahertz.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then so if the memory controller is running at 1000, and you're driving the modules at 2000, are you still gaining something if you're having to wait for the memory controller to issue the next instruction?
Depends on the speed.
Okay.
Depends on the speed you're running the memory module at.
Yeah.
And what speed you're running the memory controller at. So it's like with AMD.
Yeah.
Where running at 1-to-1. So 6,000 DDR, which is 3,000 memory clock, 3,000 controller clock,
Yeah.
is the optimal. Basically, 90% of stuff should be able to do this. Don't aim higher than that.
Yeah.
When you go above that, you have to jump all the way to basically 7,800
Yeah.
to run 7,800 divide by 2 to then see equal performance to 6,000 divided by 2.
Ah, I see. But then if you're running the memory at 7,800,
Yeah.
and then you divide by 2 to keep the controller clock the same, the controller is still running at the same speed. So surely it can only address the memory at that same speed. If you're not
Roughly.
making the controller run faster, are you actually getting more memory performance?
Depends. Depends on whether you are latency sensitive or bandwidth sensitive.
I see.
Because the bandwidth goes up with the increase in the memory clock.
Yeah.
So the bandwidth from the memory sticks
Yeah.
into the CPU socket goes up with the frequency.
Yeah.
But obviously the latency on all of that, you're having to wait cycles, so the latency can be higher. So it depends on whether you're latency sensitive or raw bandwidth sensitive.
Yeah, so basically it's a case of if you're running the modules at a higher speed, but your controller is running at a lower speed, you're possibly getting more done per cycle. Like, this is a gross simplification, but you're effectively increasing your IPC of your memory controller. The memory controller is maintaining its clock speed, but because the modules are running faster, you can get more done per clock. The memory controller might not have to skip a cycle waiting for the memory to respond.
Yeah.
So yeah, and again, I'm grossly oversimplifying because I don't know much about this, but that's my gross oversimplification of what you just said.
But it is a case of, yes, as you were saying, certainly on the AMD side, you have to go from DDR 6000 in 1-to-1 mode up to 8,000 in 2-to-1 mode for it to be a benefit.
Yeah.
Basically, you have to go all the way to 8,000 before there's really a benefit.
Yeah. So let's say I put 6,000 mega transfer memory in my PC at home.
Yeah.
And people will be like, well, I got 6,400 memory. It's like, okay, well, if you're running at 6,400, you're now going to lower the clock speed of your memory controller in order potentially to do that, which means you're probably losing performance.
You certainly could be. Yes.
And you're going to have to push your memory bandwidth all the way up to 7,800, did you say the next?
As a minimum, basically.
In order to actually get the memory controller back up to that on simple divisions. Yeah.
Kinda, yeah. More just a case of for the loss in performance through not being in 1-to-1 to be outset by the increase in bandwidth and so on through faster timing.
And obviously, you could tune all of this out.
Yeah.
You know, if you could run at 6,400 and retune all of your timings to solve that problem. But
it depends on whether you're for on the AMD side. If your Infinity Fabric and memory controller are fast enough for you to do 6,400 in 1-to-1, then it's worth doing.
Yeah. However, if you're someone like me who just sticks the modules in the board and switches on Expo, then no, you run at 6,000 or you go all the way up to 7,800, basically.
Basically, yeah.
If you're expecting to just turn on Expo and have it work, yeah. So, Turner Gaming, thank you for the £5. It's basically equivalent to RPM drop from first to second gear with a higher top speed in second gear in car terms. By the time we've explained that analogy, you may as well have just understood the original, though. So
With this, all I've done here is just changed the RAM speed to 8400, but manually set it to Gear 2 mode. So it's in Gear 2 mode.
Yeah.
It's at 8400. Memory clock 4200. And somewhere in here, it will tell you what the actual memory controller's at. But I just don't know where it is on an Intel CPU because I've not looked for a while. somewhere in here you'll see the memory controller clock is at half that speed.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah.
Yeah.
However, but also the takeaway from this is that this is very clearly labelled and telegraphed in the BIOS, which is pretty decent. And because a lot previous times when we've been doing this, it's been a lot of black magic where you have been struggling to find the settings to do this, and the settings are really unclearly labelled with what exactly they're doing.
Yeah.
Whereas in this motherboard, it's saying this does this. This is how this number is being calculated, and you've dialed that in, and it's just running that.
Yeah.
So it's just so far, this is working really nicely because it's doing exactly what you tell it to, and it's telling you what it's capable of doing and how it's going to calculate the numbers, which is quite nice. So kind of cool. What would have been nice is if we'd run some benchmarks on my system or something like that to get some baseline numbers so we could compare memory performance and be like, okay, so my 7800X3D with 6000 megatransfer RAM in would do this value. This CPU is probably slower than that. However, because we can drive the memory at really high speed, we can make big number go up in the benchmark number, which doesn't necessarily equate to a faster computer, but it shows how easy it is to get to high memory speed here, which is kind of the objective.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, as you see here, all I've changed is just this DRAM frequency.
Okay. Just going to go back up through a couple of chats again. Loke says, 2 weeks ago you asked your viewers to tell you what situation they would see benefit of fast drives. So when you're backing up from NVMe to NVMe, you'd want that. So yes, if you want your backups to go fast, then fast drives will help. Yeah, sure. So yeah, if you're backing up daily, then sure, it is nice when your backup goes really fast. So yeah, I would agree with that. Galvani says, can the CPU get to 6 gigahertz? What are the clocks on this thing?
I think something like a base clock of 4 and a boost of 5.3, I would guess, for the P-cores.
Yeah,
something in that order.
Yeah,
but
so
I don't
certainly
actually know.
6 gigahertz should not be difficult to get to then from there, surely. If it's
absolutely no idea.
Yeah, I mean, if it's doing 5 point something, surely it can get to 6 without any trouble.
Yeah, but then also you look at what 12th, 13th, and 14th gen needed for that.
Yeah.
Because obviously they needed 400 plus watts to do that.
CPU utilization. Yours was set a bit low at power cord settings. What does that mean? Firephone says, Graham, do you own any laptop models that have the same heatsink problem from the last video? I mean, no, it's not a signature fault. The message of that the system failed to boot, Saj.
Yeah. Wild.
That was just simply, this is a way that any heat pipe could fail. It's not it's not a signature failure in anything, but so yes, that's not something that I would say if you have this specific model, you should look out for this. That's just if you've got any laptop, because that style of cold plate with a single heat pipe to a fin stack, that's what the vast majority of consumer laptops are cooled by. So basically, any consumer laptop, you might see that fault, basically.
Yeah, fine.
Sleepwalk says, are we having an Xmas party midstream late December? No, Caradog has bought this stuff, but we don't have the hot plate here to heat it up. Except we do, because we've got an Intel CPU. Oh, God. We're going to have these next week, is the plan. So, yes. I'm going to go and get my weird coffee thing. Tell the people what speeds you're aiming for. What are our plans here? What are our intentions?
I have no real plans, particularly. It was just a case of just kind of unboxing it, turning it on, and just kind of showing off the motherboard and just kind of talking about, the board and its layout and possibly consideration of weirdness, depend on, whether you think having 84,000 M.2s is weird.
Yeah, we should have a look at. Just step out here so you can hear me as well. We should have a look at the cool profile buttons on it.
Yeah. I have no idea what they do.
Yeah,
so
I want to see how those work.
I opened up the manual beforehand so we could have a
let's have a nosy at that then, because do you want to tell people about the buttons and also let's just like do a tour of the board and look at because the buttons and switches on it look cool. I want to know what they do and let's just see how they work because that seems cool.
Yes, I'll wait for this to finish posting and then I'll turn it off and take the graphics card out to actually do that. Well, yeah. Where is bench cam? There you go. Bench cam. There you go.
It's raining sideways.
You may now turn off. Huh. Good. Sorry, saying it like that made me think of Palpatine from like episode 3 where he's just like, good. Kill him, Anakin. I was like, oh no. Ha! Get back here. I'm going to use my fancy eject button.
By pushing it the wrong way. It's pulling forward.
No, I half expected it to pop the card up.
Yeah.
So that's what I thought it was about to do.
Well, no, otherwise you'd run the risk of someone's card going bonk. So yeah, it's just a lock unlock, isn't it? But yeah. I complained to Caradog. I said there must be an easier way to design an easy release mechanism. But apparently ASUS have got the patents on all the simple methods.
Or someone has anyway.
Yeah.
I know
my Gigabyte board just has an elongated thing on it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, why are they not just doing that? That's just, like,
I wonder if because Gigabyte have patented that one.
Yeah. Like, hang on, I've still got that stupid X570 board because I haven't sent it back yet. And I kind of want to compare that because I kind of appreciate the simplicity of it. Like a lot of motherboards, they're headlining this easy release as a feature. And like, because we've got all of this nonsense. We've got this huge long bit and it's got spring-loaded mechanisms and springs and stuff like that in there. Or you've got the Gigabyte where they've just put an extended latch on it so you can reach it. That's all it needs to be. Why? Well, just do that. That's all it needs to be. It just needs a latch that sticks out a little bit further.
Yeah.
Stop overcomplicating it. You're just adding complications and expense.
But also, for at least this board layout, it wouldn't work.
Yeah. And
just because they've got two M.2s above the graphics card.
Yeah. In a way, I don't know, man. There must be a simpler solution, is all I'm saying,
Because they've got the two M.2s.
Yeah. All right. So, have you talked to people about all of the have you pointed out all the buttons and switches yet?
I was just going to talk about the slot layout and the M.2s.
Okay, yeah.
Because it's got those two M.2s up top.
Yeah.
Above the primary 16 slot. It then means that obviously if you had a elongated thing here, it would be colliding with this.
Yeah.
So in this instance it wouldn't work, but also that feels like it wouldn't be something that would be difficult to, kind of work around. If you thought about it. But yeah, it's interesting that it's got a little DIDI slot up here as well. And obviously I need to look at the manual to know, but I wonder if using this slot means you can't use this M.2. Or you can use these two together, but you can't use any of these down here or something like that.
Yeah, maybe. There's got to be a gotcha in there because there's... how many M.2s was this? 5?
Something obnoxious.
Yeah, like when we take off the PCH heatsink.
Now I take off the next cover.
Which is quick release, which is very cool. But like, they're like ants. The more you look, the more M.2 slots you see.
So yes, so there's one here, there's one there, there's one there, And there's one there.
And you've got the two above the...
Then there's one here and one here.
For your 5 M.2 drives.
No, 6.
6.
Because it's 4 plus 2.
Yes,
1,
6.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6. For your 6 M.2 requirements.
Somewhere out there, someone is going to have one of these, and they're going to have like a 1 terabyte, a 2 terabyte, 3 500 gigs, and a 128. And you're going to be like, "What's the 128 for?" And they'll be like, "Oh, I put my memes on there or something." And you're like, "Consolidate, please! I'm begging you." And they're like, "Well, SSDs cost money." It's just like, it's 128. Throw it over a fence. Put it in an enclosure and use it as a flash drive.
Yeah.
Just take it out. You don't need it. Because like everyone's got that mate who's got like 6 SATA drives in their computer, and they complain how modern motherboards only have 4 SATA ports. It's like, what are you doing? You don't need 6 drives in your PC.
Yeah.
And I say this because I know someone's already typing in the chat, actually, consolidate.
Also, your desktop really doesn't need that much storage. If you need that much storage, you
Build
should
an
be
ass.
using some sort of actual proper solution, in my opinion. But yeah.
6 M.2s in RAID 0.
No, don't do 6.
There it is. Yeah. Marcus Salangli said, sorry if I just butchered the name, says, "You are describing me now."
No, don't do 6.
Facebook report image. I'm in this picture and I don't like it.
Yes. I imagine that if you use that, this slot is also PCIe Gen 5, and when you use it, it then takes this down to by 8 as well. That would make sense to me.
Although,
Just
yeah,
because by 8 to the CPU is very useful for SLI and Crossfire.
Yeah, because they're Gen 5, they're both Gen 5. Yeah, so even if you drop down to X8, that's still plenty of bandwidth.
Yeah, but it's more of a fact of it's direct to the CPU, not through the chipset.
Yeah, that's cool that the low one is CPU.
If it is, I don't know, I haven't double checked.
Okay, yeah.
But because of the spacing and because of the type of board it is, I'd imagine it is, because that's useful for when you're overclocking.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah.
Are all slots also NVMe or SATA? A couple of them might be SATA.
From
However,
the looks of it, purely based off of the notching, because they've all got the notch, and I would imagine that they're all SATA. That none of them are SATA.
Yeah, I'll be surprised. Yeah, it's possible that they've dropped SATA on them because SATA M.2 is dead. Yeah. Basically. Like, it has been cheaper to buy NVMe in preference to SATA M.2 drives for quite a few years now. So as such, the only SATA SSDs kicking around are old ones. So, yeah, like the Crucial MX500 M.2 was the last relevant SATA M.2 drive. Anything else is just some grot thing you've pulled out of an OEM machine somewhere.
Yeah.
So, like, it's possible that they've just said, no, the M.2 slots don't support SATA because no one cares. That's entirely possible.
Yeah. It's possible that, like, this top one might support SATA as well, but I don't expect
one of them probably does.
Huh.
Yeah. I'll start having a look at the...
the manual is open.
The manual, yeah. Upgrade, flashback features, Tai Chi... There it is, yeah. All right, let's see.
Yeah.
M.2. M.2 installation guide, page 67.
If you scroll down... okay.
That was not what I wanted.
Near the beginning...
I was going to say the installation section will usually say how to put them in, blah blah blah.
Okay, I was just going to look at the motherboard overview that tells you what the ports are.
Oh, okay, yeah, the overview actually says it. Fair enough. All right, you win. Introduction.
Oh, there you go. There's the specification.
Expansion slots. USB storage. All right.
Blazing
M.2. Okay, so
420.
the first one is blazing M.2.
420, send it.
And is PCI Gen 5 X4. Then the rest of them are hyper M.2, which is PCI 4x4.
Actually latch.
So KM.
There you go. KM.
None of them say SATA support.
Yeah. Fair.
There's no note here that explicitly says they don't support SATA, but also they're listing supported NVMe modes, but there is no mention of SATA mode on any of them.
Yeah.
And also the SATA controller is a discrete SATA controller. It looks like the PCH doesn't have built-in SATA. That's a guess. However, it sounds like they've actually
only 4 ports there.
Yeah. It sounds like the PCH doesn't have a built-in SATA controller, and that's probably why none of the M.2 ports support SATA, because the SATA ports are all on a discrete controller.
Yeah, probably. But you can RAID several of them. Oh. Okay.
Elmore Labs OCP header. Ooh.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Let's start talking about the exciting.
Just the fact that it's actually labelled as an Elmore Labs one as well.
Yeah. Okay. Let's start talking about the exciting overclocking stuff.
That's a cool cross brand.
Yeah. So,
What blimmin' one is it?
So, have we got a
These are just
picture
the
of the
connectors,
board?
isn't it?
Yeah, here we go. Okay, right. So,
Turn off the page view on the left.
yeah. Hang on a minute. Go away. Go away.
And then just scroll down.
Right. Let's see. So, Elmore
Up. It's number 6.
Number 6. And that is
Up the top. Yeah.
that pin header just above the plus button.
Okay, that makes sense. Oh,
So,
yeah,
yeah.
OCP1. Yeah, there.
Yeah. Okay, shall we... right, let's start at the bottom of the board firstly, because I'm interested in those dip switches all the way at the bottom of the board, which is at the top of your screen. So do you just want to point to those a sec?
Hold on, if I do...
Yeah,
how far can we go this
then
way?
after that, I
That's
was going to
about
adjust it so we could look at the top section.
Yeah.
So, so firstly, we've got these dip switches.
There you go.
Yeah, so we've got these dip switches here that are just labelled OC, etc., etc. So that's 32 through 37. They're just called OC buttons. Okay, so OC button. It's actually a switch, but yeah. What do they do? Rapid OC buttons, smart buttons.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Plus minus buttons. I wonder if they're just, it's not actually labeled. Maybe they're just programmable. Like it change. Maybe you can program them to turn certain things on and off in BIOS.
Maybe.
Which would be super cool.
Yeah. Keep going.
All right.
To about here, because here will be a feature explanation. So we'll just see what it's actually describing around here. Smart buttons. Hold on. The motherboard has 19 smart buttons. Power button, reset button, clear CMOS, retry, safe boot, BIOS flashback, rapid OC, Nixie's OC profile buttons, slow mode, LN2 safe mode, and OC buttons.
Yeah. It doesn't actually say what the OC buttons are,
Yeah,
so I would just...
Keep going. Reset, clear CMOS, retry. Where's retry?
Oh,
Is
retry.
it just, it's in there. That's fine. That's what I expected. Safe boot is there as well. Yeah, fine.
BFG button. I wonder why they label it BFG button for safe boot. Board flat. I don't know. Right, flashback.
Boot first good or something like that.
Yeah. And that's rapid OC button. So that's just nudge frequency up and down. Profile buttons. I'm really interested in the profile buttons. Then slow mode.
Yeah, there you go. That's what the switches are. That one's slow mode.
Yeah.
Which is...
then LN2 mode.
Wait, where's the slow mode switch?
Here we go.
Hold on.
Oh, yeah. So then the OC switches, use OC switches to automatically load custom OC profiles 1 through 6 at startup.
What? What?
That seems so. Firstly, that seems like an okay.
What do you need 6 of them?
Yeah. Okay. So hang on a second. Let me just go to. Yeah.
6 of these?
Well, it's obviously got. Let me go to desktop with Face a sec. So, obviously, it's got 6 possible saved profiles, but these are dip switches, which means you can have multiple of them turned on at the same time. So, like, that seems like an awful idea because how does it know which one is the priority? I guess, but also,
What?
but that's what the. But also, that's what these ones are for. That's what That's what these profile buttons are for. So why does it have those and the 6 profile buttons? Although, actually, quickly load the preset.
Yeah.
Oh, hold on a sec.
These load specific profiles, possibly.
Yeah, it sounds like those are specific profiles that are just burned into the BIOS, which is just like, I guess you buy the same thing that Nick was using and hope for the best. And which is going to be very disappointing. I assumed those would load saved profiles. I mean, I guess the dip switches down the bottom do what I thought those did, but that's
Weird.
a much slicker. Let's move the camera to show off those buttons because they look cool.
Yeah, wild.
So let's go back to bench cam. So yeah, if you nudge it up a little bit, and then I'll move the camera down a bit. I see. Right, and if you move the camera across towards me. Yeah, that's fine. Maybe a bit further if you can. Yeah, and then I can punch down a little bit. Whoop. Sorry, everything is upside down. That's just the way it's arranged on the bench. So yeah, so then we've got the plus, minus, the minus button. So that's nudge frequency up and down. I've never been convinced about having these as physical buttons on the board because you can't see what you're doing with them. I've seen overclocking motherboards have had a nudge button for years. That's not new. But the 1, 2, 3, that is load profile. So kind of the assumption there was from off, you would press one of the buttons and it would boot the board loading that specific BIOS profile. However, it's possible that those load preset profiles that you can't change. So I guess we'll look at that in a sec. And then under that, we've then got a couple of dip switches and a couple of buttons for LN2 mode, slow boot, reset, last known good, and so on. So yeah, and then also obviously we've got the hex code readout as well.
Yeah. So that's.
Yeah. So, Marcel says, apparently the M.2s do support SATA. I just didn't read that section from the long line of text. So, cool. If you still use SATA M.2 drives for some reason or other, then cool. If you're buying a £400 motherboard and a £450 CPU, you too can use a SATA SSD.
You too can use a crappy low quality SSD.
I mean, the MX500 was a banger in all fairness, but...
How many of those exist?
Yeah, exactly. It was a banger 5 years ago, so yeah. All right, so...
See page 7, number 17. Okay, does that give me more information?
Page 7, number 17.
I presume not.
5, 7, number 17. Oh, that just...
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that just points out where it is on the board.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's fine.
Yeah. I mean, I assume LN2 mode does what LN2 mode normally does and just takes off all the safety locks.
Well, kind of, but it's just the fact that it's on.
Oh, it's on out of the box.
Well, it's just, this switch is in the on position.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it's put it to off to disable safety. Safeties are off.
Yeah. I mean, I guess we could just fire it up.
But then it's the next switch down, which is slow mode, has a red on for like warning.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, slow mode is handy because once you've done the benchmark, you can bang slow mode on. Hopefully it'll be stable whilst you're saving the screenshot. That's what slow
Oh,
mode
I
is for.
see. You can change slow mode on the fly. Yeah.
You can change. You should be able to change all of this live in Windows.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, I thought slow mode was post slowly, so you can watch the post codes count through.
It forces the CPU to the lowest ratio clocks, I think.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, we should demonstrate that because I've never seen that in action before.
Yeah,
that's kind of my interest from this. Not that I'm going to do any of this. I'm just interested in understanding what these things actually do.
Yeah.
Because no one actually talks about what they do.
Yeah.
You know, I want to look at LN2 mode and go, look, when we put this in the on position, it lets us pump 2 volts into the CPU, if one was so inclined. Whereas if you turn it off, the board won't let you set it to 2 volts because that would be a really terrible idea, you know. So yeah.
It was poorly timed. Oh, excuse me. But yes, slow mode is kind of a, you know, when you is to ensure it doesn't crash before you can grab the screenshot.
Yeah, because when you're at the bleeding, it was like what was that? There was some, I think it might have been a frequency record that was set recently, and it was done like at the ASUS headquarters or something like that, and they were using liquid helium to do it. And when I watched the video of it, what happened is they booted it up, they opened up like CPU-Z, and it showed like, you know, 9.8 gigahertz or something. And they went, yeah! And they went, screenshot. And they went, yeah! And then the PC blue screened. So it's just like, it was 9.8 gigahertz for about 10 seconds. So good job. You know, suffice to say, you don't daily drive this stuff. It's a suicide run.
Yeah, it certainly is. It was running on liquid helium.
Yeah, definitely. Like, not to say that it was stupid or not valid, but
no. It was running on liquid helium, so it was something like 10,000. Pound, $10,000 a doer or something like that.
Yeah, but my point being, like, when you actually set these records, that you're assuming that the computer is only actually going to run for seconds before it conks out. So yeah. All right. Okay, let's back out. Let's fire it up and start looking at some features then. Let's start with slow mode, just because that's simple and basic. Let's fire it up and just look at what the clocks do when we flick the slow mode on and off, because that's what I want to look at. So yeah, right, backing up through the chat again. Let's see. Minitown says, "Hey, what's up?" Have you killed it? Oh, no video. Yeah. For those of you just joining us, we've got an Intel Core Ultra 7 unlocked Series 2. Why is it a Series 2?
Because it's the second series of the Core.
Oh yeah, they changed it the previous one, didn't they? It's a 265K, and we've got an overclocking motherboard, and we're looking at fancy overclocking features, because I don't really know what these things do, and I want to understand them. We're not actually doing big overclocking runs or anything. I'm just curious to look at these features and understand how they work. Also, the middle fan is jammed. Yep. Let's see. Firephone says, can you install Peerless Assassin in 2 ways or only one on AIM4? Depends on the motherboard. If your VRM heatsinks stick up a lot, then no. If your VRM heatsinks don't stick up a lot, then you can put it either way around. One way around will block the VRM heatsinks, the other way around will block the M.2 slot. So try it and find out.
The M. What?
The Peerless Assassin. Okay, yeah.
Why will it block the M.2?
Ugh. Since we're actually asking, just to add
you mean a 90-degree rotation?
Well, 180-degree rotation.
How will that block the M.2?
On some motherboards, the M.2 will sit close to there and it will overhang slightly, and you won't be able to. I mean, won't block it entirely, but basically, if you look at the bottom of the heatsink, which is this is terrible, whatever. But the cold plate is slightly offset, so if you put it round one way, then if you put it round one way, it sits higher up in the case. If you turn it around 180 degrees, it sits slightly lower in the case.
Oh, I see. It's
Yeah.
offset that way.
Yeah.
Oh, that's wild. Okay.
Yeah.
Because the only offset I'd seen through heat pipes was that way.
Yeah.
So it'd
This
be
is up and
more
down
over the
offset.
RAM or less over the RAM.
Yeah. This is up and down offset.
Yeah, that's what I was like, how would that work? But I
Yeah.
realised the offset's different to what I was expecting.
Yeah. But obviously, like,
And it did me confused.
it depends on the motherboard, and
Yeah.
so yeah, there's no straight answer to that question. It's like, well, line it up and see what it does, basically.
Yeah.
Ugh. So yes. The new naming scheme is part of a cunning plan to make sure everyone is unsure if they bought a lemon or not.
I mean, if it says Intel in the CPU name, you have your answer.
I see.
However, you've got the 4, the 6, and the 8. Basically. The 2.4 is the i5. The 2.6 is the 7. And the 2.8 is the 9. The reason they've done that, I believe, is because they're going to come out with a 250K, which is like a fixed revision of the i5, a 270K, which is a fixed version of the i7, and a 270K, which is a fixed version of the i9. And they're just going to bump each number up by 5 in a little while, because they will have fixed it.
Terrible.
Because I think they knew these were broken.
Yeah, I mean, let's face it, like the engineering samples existed months before release,
Yeah.
and they would have been benchmarking those engineering samples and going, this ain't it, chief, but like, what do we do? Go back to the kitchen for another 6 months? You know, the bean counters want a release, you know.
So as you can see, we are in slow mode.
We are indeed going slow. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, we'll see the numbers in a minute, and then, yeah, what would be cool is if we can dink the switch on and off and be like, ah. So, yeah.
So as you can see here, we're locked at 400 megahertz.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, so it actually just crashes down to... That's kind of cool. That's like sort of like thermal throttle speeds.
But yeah.
All right, so, all right, Kronk, pull the lever. Bang. That's kind of cool.
Yeah.
So some of them are still at 400. I assume that's
Yeah,
because
because
we're idling.
they're the E-cores and a couple of the P-cores.
Yeah, okay, so that's just
the
because
clocks
we're
are
idling.
bouncing around
Yeah.
as stuff happens. But yeah. But then I go, huh.
Boop. Bang.
And it
Everything's down to
updates and
400.
everything's at 400.
Okay, yeah, that's cool. Yeah. Yeah, that's kind of interesting. Yeah. Neat.
So yes.
All right, well, there's the slow mode, everyone. All right. Okay, so shall we figure out what the hell is going on with LN2 mode, and then we'll have a look at the profile buttons and see what the hell those are all about. Yeah, also, can you nudge the frequency up and down? What happens if you press plus and minus? Is it changing, I mean, yeah, like, is it changing a ratio somewhere, or?
Ah. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, presumably we'd have to be on manual to actually see it, because everything's on auto at the moment, so we can't actually tell what we're changing. Put the power meter on the plug. Could do. I mean, hardware info will just tell us what we're drawing, to be honest. So yeah, like what's our idle power draw?
The... Huh. Apparently the CPU package power is somewhere around 10 watts.
Yeah, not bad. Yeah, that's fairly middling for a modern CPU, I guess. But yeah, 10 watts is not too shabby. And like we're not running efficient mode or anything like that. So yeah, yeah, okay. Do E-cores still cause performance issues when gaming on Windows 10? Yes, and I seem to remember the E-cores are doing so on my understanding is on 13th and 14th gen the E-cores were not really doing very much work, and certainly for gaming you could quite happily just switch off your E-cores and get more consistent performance. That was my understanding. However, I believe that on these new ones the E-cores actually do work. However, Windows still hasn't quite solved the problem of thread assignment. So
also just the fact of obviously the massively different performance between two threads.
Yeah. So
it's just a case of it's going to cause a stutter basically anyway, because one thread's going to be massively different in performance.
Yeah. So I guess the question is that if you were running one of these, would you just disable the E-cores?
No idea. I see. There is a random LN2 preset that you can just enabled.
Right, okay, hold on a sec. Please set LN2 mode to on and CPU temperature under 10 degrees.
Yeah.
Current LN2 mode is on. Okay, so in order for LN2 mode to be active, the switch needs to be on and you have to have the CPU at below 10 degrees.
Yeah, there you go. And I've just flicked the switch.
Oh yeah, and LN2 mode is off. Okay, yeah. So we can't actually look at this in detail because we don't have the means to get the CPU at sub-zero right now.
Yeah, we'd have to move it over there.
Yeah, we'd have to get the chiller out, which we're not doing right now.
No.
So yeah.
Screw that noise.
Fair enough. Okay, yeah. So that's a bit different because usually when you flip an LN2 switch, and I guess, again, because it says a profile, that doesn't tell us much. But yeah, presumably that would just
loading their specific LN2 OC profile.
Yeah, and again, I don't like the idea of that because that's just a preset, and yeah, because as Mike's unboxing said, LN2 adds more voltage on boot to prevent frozen core issues and gives slightly more options. So yeah, that's what I would expect.
Yeah, it's a cold boot bug assistance.
Yeah.
Ah, interesting. Okay. OC mode. Fine.
Look at all those profiles you can create. Yeah, so I guess the next question is what can we do with those profile buttons, if anything? I wonder if those profile buttons only apply to LN2 mode. Those are the 3 NIC profiles, perhaps.
Perhaps. I am presently just reading that. I see. Oh yeah, and then you've got...
these CPUs are running 5ers as well, aren't they?
No.
Oh. Or was that the mobile ones that were?
No, they are running a... half.
Okay, before you continue your explanation, I'll just elaborate on what I mean by FIVR. FIVR means that the CPU has an integrated voltage regulator. So this was last seen on older CPUs where you would have vCore coming in at like 1.4 volts or something absurd like that. And then the
1.8 volts.
Oh, 1.8 volts.
Yeah.
And then the CPU had its own internal voltage regulator, which then stepped it down again for the actual true vCore.
Yeah.
And this was this increased efficiency because you were going down multiple stages. However, it also meant that you had less control because the actual true regulator was in the CPU. And they've done something like that on the new ones?
Yeah, basically. They've done something like that.
Okay.
You actually have a degree of a vCore externally to the CPU.
Yeah.
And vCore can be set externally to the CPU by the input voltage as well. But also there is an integrated voltage controller that varies the voltage per core on-load and off-load and so on. So if like an E-core complex is not under load, it can reduce the voltage to that core complex when its clocks are at 400.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And stuff like that. So it's more of a like a mobile power management and gating system.
Yeah.
Than a specific fully integrated voltage regulator.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yes, that makes sense. Yeah, I get you. Yeah.
So yes.
Yeah, and that sounds jolly good for power saving, to be honest, because it means you can downclock an idle core can not only be downclocked but actually powered down as well. Not switched off per se, but voltage reduced.
Yeah.
And again, this is what I was talking about earlier on about partial load power levels. So yeah, that's kind of interesting.
Yeah. It's also a case of you can set a different voltage between E cores and P cores. So you don't have to run E cores at 1.7 volts because you're clocking your P cores high.
Yeah.
And in the same token, if you were just pushing E cores, you could push E core voltage.
Yeah.
Without having to push P core voltage in the same way. So yes.
That's fair. Pre-Revenue says, how do we like the ASRock BIOSes? Well, the last ASRock board that I used was my X470 Tai Chi, which I rather liked. The only reason why I replaced it is because I wanted an X570 board at the time. And I quite liked the ASRock BIOS. It it had all the options that I wanted, and yeah, I thought it was fairly concise. And this BIOS seems pretty decent as well.
Yeah.
It seems well laid out, and it seemed like the descriptions are actually useful.
Would you like your SAG-V to be disabled or enabled?
Yeah, I was going to say, although it does have a little bit of an issue here, where like the description this says System Agent Geezerville. What is Geezerville? I don't know, but I can enable it or disable it.
You can enable or disable your geezers.
Yeah. Geezer or geyser? I don't know. Geyserville. So yeah.
Geyser.
Geyser beam. Is there a newer BIOS version? There probably is, actually.
Maybe.
We just took this out of the box and turned it on.
Yeah.
Yeah. Although a newer BIOS is probably not going to be radically different.
Not in the sense of just kind of walking around the switches that are on the board.
Yeah, that's it. It doesn't actually tell us. I like boards where up the top where it's got what CPU you've got and things like that. I like it when they actually tell you what BIOS version you're running there. Does it actually tell us on like main? No, actually. Yeah, where is the BIOS version on this board?
I'd expect it to be under...
yeah, I mean, it'll be under UEFI update utility stuff, but... Oh, interesting. There's a separate section for ME flash.
Yeah. You can sanitize your media.
I'm also curious as to how good those are as well at like secure arrays for SSDs. LED firmware recovery. I mean, that's extremely funny, but also like I quite like that it actually has separate flash options because like unironically, if you
That's not awful.
If you need to update RGB firmware or ME firmware because something has gone wrong there, you have to flash specific BIOS versions and it will do those updates when it flashes those BIOS versions. Whereas this board actually allows you to do it separately.
No.
And like it's kind of obscure that we need firmware for your RGB, but the point is it can do it. Oh, there we go. Here's our button profiles. That looks kind of interesting. B clock steps. Oh my god, it just changes the B clock by X megahertz. Okay.
Hold on.
Are we going for it? Yeah.
I'm doing a Google.
A Google.
I will do possibly
Okay.
in a minute because I might need a new hardware monitor as well. Just because I can't remember what version.
Oh, it did say on the front screen. Yeah. Oh,
yeah,
1.31.
It might be 1.31. I don't know if that's actually the BIOS version. I didn't compare that to whatever was on the website, but I did download whatever the latest version was.
Yeah. Okay, right. I'll trade places with you then for a bit, I guess. Yeah, Caradog's doing a thing. I don't know what he's doing, but I trust he's doing a thing. So.
Only because I don't know if it will show me the BCLK. just because we seem to be missing some CPU information. And I don't know if it's
possibly
because I've got old hardware info.
Yeah. Well, you've got Wi-Fi 7, so you'll be able to download the new version of hardware info really quickly. I'm going to go and get my tomatoes, because I'm hungry.
Bus clock, there we go. Right, so if I go, no. I don't know. JD's about to tell me I'm an idiot.
Okay.
No, I wish those heaters were more commonly available because those are an interesting addition. Is there an integrated heater? Or do I have to buy it as a separate add-on?
That'd be interesting if it's built into the motherboard. Like, I've seen that before, but they're rare.
Damn it, JD! Get a CPU. Yeah, because the button ain't buttoning. Okay. What if I... No, it's DLC. Okay.
Okay, yeah.
Where is the one switch? One. It's that one. I'm going to go...
I'm going to chop your finger off in the fan.
Huh.
So you switched on profile 1, I assume, there?
Yes.
So what were we expecting from that?
I don't know.
I see.
But because I changed the option on an option called Profile 1, I thought I'd flick the switch for Profile Option 1 and see if that was different to the button labelled 1.
Makes sense. Yeah.
I think the answer's no. Okay. I'm going to go for...
Not that simple, then.
A shutdown.
Well, this is kind of why I wanted to look at these things, because we're pushing the buttons and nothing's happening. So, like, how do these things work? How do you actually use them?
And then I'm going to go 1. No. That's what I thought. I assumed it wouldn't do that.
Oh.
I'm going to go back into the overclocking menu and see what it says. Tell me how to use the button. Oh, you might have to be in the auto overclock thing.
That would be hideous. Because auto overclock bad, but sure.
Oh no, I've just seen what the fan profile thing's called.
What's the fan profile thing called? Fantastic tuning. Oh yeah, that's been a thing for a while.
Oh no.
And honestly, I'd shake the hand of the man who decided to call it fantastic tuning.
Okay, I'm going to change it to that. And then I'm going to... Oh, that's... Yeah, that is OC Tweaker. Right. Wait. Oh. Oh, I have P and E core qualities. Excellent.
139, wow. I don't know what that means.
Me neither. Entirely possibly potato. Right. Where were we?
Yeah, where was...
ASRock OC functions, there we go.
Ah, okay, yeah.
Right. I have set the profile. Hold on, set profile. I have to choose set profile after button profiles are all done. Oh, hold on. I'm just going to go 101. And then I'm going to go 99. And I'm going to go set profile.
Is it worth putting a bigger range in than that? Just so, because obviously like...
Yeah, I was just wondering if I could now set profile and it'd do something.
Oh, I see, yeah, yeah.
Because I've now typed numbers in boxes.
Fair.
But yes.
Yeah,
but also I don't want it to crash because changing from 100.0 and 100.37 is enough to crash it.
Yeah. So actually having 5 on your plus minus buttons is probably a bit leery.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we should probably change that to 1.
Although I guess we can go lower.
JD says something might be broken because they've got averages. The average score is 90 and yours is 180.
Yes.
I see.
Set BLC for button 3. You have to choose set profile after button profiles are all done. Right, so if I go 1 now.
Maybe we just got a golden sample, JD. Have you thought of that?
Yeah, I don't get it. I don't understand. I'm not expecting it to do something specifically here, but...
Okay, well...
I don't know how that works.
Let's try saving all of that and see if it does anything now.
Yeah. Whoop. Okay.
Oh.
Yeah, that's just the... Where did I change that? Oh, it was here. Power delivery profile. Yeah. That's what I want.
We are living in the future time of 0046. It's true.
Yeah, no, I can't see any options on there that seem to relate to that. Fine, whatever.
Send it.
Whatever. We might have to flash a new BIOS.
Understandable.
Possibly. Because it's possible that this early BIOS is broken. Because you never know. ASRock might not have gotten working the CPU.
I'll download the latest BIOS
it's
preemptively.
It's in the download folder.
I'll get a flash drive for the latest BIOS preemptively.
Thank you. Could you also grab whatever the newest version of hardware info is?
Sure thing. Why was there a Nick Smith profile? I just had to refresh the stream while installing Windows 11 on another stream. Yeah, I don't know who this Nick chap is. Presumably he's an extreme overclocking dude. I don't know the scene, but yeah, I'm assuming that I'm assuming he's a well-known overclocker who's working with ASRock.
Yes, I presume he is their in-house overclocker.
Yeah. All right. Okay, so we want hardware info. Free download. Portably.
I've already got the latest version then.
814?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wild. Okay. I don't get it.
I take it it's still not doing anything. Yeah, I mean, unless it has to be in LN2 mode, but that seems kind of restrictive if all the fancy bits don't work unless you're in LN2 mode, because, yeah.
Weird.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a bit disappointing. 11 Pro. Oh, okay, fine. I'm just going to put that there. Boop. Yeah, well, let's BIOS update it then and see if it does anything after that.
I'm just looking quickly if there are any other switches. No, nothing immediately obvious.
Ooh, don't mind me. Ooh.
Fine. Whatever.
It is literally going to be power limits updating. Yeah. We'll find out. There's an OC button firmware on the motherboard support page.
Ah.
I am looking this up. Just support. The BIOS and firmware.
Tool.
OC button firmware version 101. Interesting. Well, I'll hit download on that.
Does it say update Windows? Yeah, update method Windows.
Oh, yeah.
Weird. After pressing enter,
Fair
it will
enough.
reboot. I pushed this button. Yeah, manual seems to be pointing out only using the plus and minus buttons to tune BCLK. Yes, and they don't seem to change anything.
Yeah.
They are broken. Possibly.
Yeah, all right. Well, let's see what we'll do the BIOS update, and then we'll do the, if we do if the OC button firmware update is done from Windows, then yeah, we can easily do that as well.
Yeah.
Do not power off during the UEFI update.
The other thing I thought of is you might have to set a manual BCLK.
Yeah, that makes sense. Or at least, yeah, just have it in manual mode, yeah.
Yeah. Ah, a Logi stream. The webcam.
Very well.
JD, do you know how they are removing the Fiverr quote-unquote support? Or the override mode support? Because I presume it will be through a BIOS update, and if you go back to an old version of the BIOS, it will come back.
And Firephone, does this board have 1.8 volt MX BIOS chip? No idea, probably just because that's what modern motherboards use, would be my guess.
And if needs be, we can take it off and flash the old version.
Yeah, I mean, it's got dual BIOS anyway, so there'll be 2 chips on there. And it's dual switchable BIOS as well, which is tasty. Speaking of which chip are we on at the moment? 1 or 2?
A!
Very well.
We are on A of B.
Yeah, I see. Intel is just telling AIBs to remove the BIOS option.
Fair enough. So they can remove the BIOS option. Here is a beta BIOS.
I see.
I guess.
So what is this code for? Intel want to take out the option that allows people to tinker with the voltage regulators.
The CPU can operate in 2 modes. It can operate in the semi voltage regulatory mode thing, and then you can have the other mode, which is the override mode, where you just send volts.
Yeah.
And the send volts option is more efficient for all core loads.
Okay, yeah.
So if you're on an all-core load in, you know, Cinebench, Handbrake, something like that, technically it's more efficient to be in the override mode.
That would make sense.
From what I recall.
Because any point when you're doing voltage conversion, there are efficiency losses there. And also, obviously, any efficiency loss is loss in heat and also potentially stability. Now, what you're gaining from that is the ability to downvolt your idle cores, so you're getting more efficiency from saving power than you're losing in doing the additional power conversion. But if you're trying to 100% load all-core load your CPU because you're going for big benchmark numbers, you don't care about that efficiency. You want high stability, which means you want to be doing as fewer conversions as possible. So yeah.
Yeah.
Antonio Lambranca, sorry if I'm butchering your name. Thank you for the £20. Hi guys, Graham, here's a small thank you for your help last week when I called about fixing my GPU. You're very welcome. Yeah, I don't think I was able to do anything about it if my memory serves me, but you know I was happy to at least provide a bit of advice over the phone. So yes, you're very welcome. Wow, that's a really old-looking BIOS.
Because I pressed tab.
I see.
Huh.
Yes, thank you very much. All
There we
right.
go. The CPU quality is now a reasonable number. It's now 86.
Hang on a sec. Where's where are you seeing that?
Under my hand here. So if you get rid of the camera.
Remove. I'm taking our faces off. I'm going to take his face off. Nope.
No.
Hang on a sec. It's here somewhere.
No, it'll be at the top. It'll be at the top. There we go.
Okay, our CPU quality is now 86. All right, so unfortunately we've now lost our golden sample of 180.
No, my game would.
Very well. However, also just the fact that some of the numbers are making a bit more sense sounds promising.
That's at least something.
Yeah. Capture with face. It was that one. There we go. I'll leave that off until we've actually got those buttons working.
Oh. There's now a gaming OC preset. I see.
Gaming OC preset. Well, what's in those? What do you get for that?
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, what's the gaming OC preset? Like, what does that give?
Oh.
Interesting that you can select your microcode updates. Yeah.
Yeah. Wild. Granular ratio. User can limit the core frequency to a sub-bin ratio below P0. What? User can limit the core frequency to a sub-bin ratio below P0. Granular ratio only applies to the P core and E.
That's a very specific setting.
Huh?
So you can change your core ratios to less than 16 megahertz steps as long as you're running SSE instructions. That's how I'm interpreting that.
Override granular ratio bins for the CPU core 0 defines how many bins of granularity units will be subtracted from the otherwise configured P0 frequency.
If you're getting buffering, then refresh. Yeah.
Oh my god.
Core ratios in
Yeah,
16.67,
yeah.
not just 100, yeah.
But why?
For when you're looking for that last
No,
0.1%.
not that. Why is that the description of changes ratio from 100 to 16?
Okay, yeah.
Oh boy.
Right.
Where is like just SOC compute? Compute die internal. There we go.
Yeah, we should probably leave things as they are before we.
Who die special? No.
Yeah, we probably shouldn't change too much at the moment and just see if the buttons work now, just so we can understand whether the BIOS update has fixed things or what.
Yeah, I'm just looking to see if there's like a set BCLK, and I think that is the set BCLK.
That's what I'm seeing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what was that gaming profile thing as well? Gaming OC
here.
preset. Stage 1, stage. Wow, you can do stages like Fast and Furious. Yes, I have a stage 2 tuned CPU. So what does that actually do? Optimize CPU frequency to improve performance. Further optimize CPU frequency to enhance performance in applications or games.
Yes.
Okay, yeah, fine. That sounds like just generic core enhancement.
Yes.
Yeah, okay, it's core enhancement then. Yeah, it's just allowing yeah. Fair enough.
Big steps.
All right. Well, good luck, everyone.
Yeah. Gaming profiles are just preset OC profiles. Did you also put the button firmware on the pen drive?
No. I will steal it.
I will tomato.
Do you want a tomato?
1 tomato.
I will eat all of them. You need to stop me.
You make it sound like it's a problem.
I mean, tomatoes are healthy, but you shouldn't eat an entire packet of them in an afternoon.
At least it's only a 300-gram pack and not a kilo pack.
Yeah. My friend that I was visiting for the LAN party, I took my sandwich toaster up there just so I could do toasted sandwiches as well. And
They don't have one?
I wasn't sure, so I bought my own. And I was just like, oh, I bought my sandwich toaster. And he was just like, yeah, well, I mean, if you want to buy stuff to put in it, sure. I was like, yeah, no problem. So I bought a loaf of bread and some filler and stuff like that. And I was like, oh, do you have any butter? And he's like, no. And I'm like, really? Oh, okay. No, you know, and he was just like, no, you don't understand. I can't have bread and butter in this house because I'll just eat sandwiches all day. This is the only way to stop myself. And
I can imagine.
Yeah, and I just thought it was really, really funny that in order to stop himself just eating sandwiches all day and getting fat, he was just like, there is no bread or butter in this house. So no, I cannot make sandwiches all day.
I honestly half expected you to say, no, because I'm definitely allergic to gluten and also I'm dairy intolerant.
Yeah. Nope. No self-control. So that's... What's the term that gamblers use to self-exclude? It's just self-exclusion, isn't it? So he's self-excluding himself from sandwiches. Right, hold on. I'll catch up with chat in a sec. We need button firmware. Okay, right. I will extract all... Oh, actually, hang on a sec.
I will extract.
I'm just going to copy the zip file because this pen drive is a Windows install drive, so... OCF firmware. I don't think that's what I wanted. Where's the button firmware? Oh yeah, no, that is the right one. 101 firm, yeah. And 101 firmware. Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, all right. Boop, boop. Oops, sorry.
Good.
Oop. I push this button. Oh. All right. Is it normal to undervolt a mining GPU for longevity? Yes. They use less power. But, like, as if anyone cares about mining anymore, though.
On a GPU.
Yeah.
On a GPU, specifically.
Graham, stop eating the whole pack. Come and stop me, Adam.
I will.
Oh. Alright. Cool. I assume the buttons are still not working. Fair enough.
I don't know what they're supposed to do, but they're not doing anything.
Well, that's it. You're like, if we're doing it wrong, then the correct way to do it is not clear. Because, like, yeah. Certainly, by the way it looks in the motherboard, that seems to be what it would do, and it kind of makes sense to have a little B-clock nudge button, you know.
Good. None of the executables executable.
Have you actually unzipped all of this?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. And then...
My mic just turned off. It did. Oh, I'm pressing the record button, that's why. Oh, the battery on it is actually flat. What the hell?
Please execute command prompt. Why do I have to command prompt to oh my... Ah!
That's pretty hideous. Oh god, you've got to do it. Yeah, you've got to do it in a command prompt like the old days. This is where the fear of BIOS updating came from.
Right. Okay. Execute update.
Execute order 66.
No. Yes. Please wait until the firmware update is complete. Okay. Okay. My chip has firmware version of 0x00000.
One moment. Go away.
Be gone!
I'm going to go and put you on the multi.
the naughty chair. It's doing stuff and things. This is my battery.
Yeah, I've got a 20 amp hour power bank in my pocket because that's the smallest thing I have on hand.
Where is the magnet?
Yeah, I'm adjusting it just because the cable is pulling it down now. There we go. Ugh. Fear of BIOS updates came from if there was a power cut, your BIOS would be rip. Yeah, and that's actually a legitimate concern in like a lot of countries. In the
third world,
we've
like
had this
America.
We've had this conversation before here, where just power cuts in the UK are actually pretty rare. You know, certainly everywhere I've ever been as well. Right, what are you flashing? So we're currently flashing the firmware that controls the overclocking buttons on the motherboard, with the hope that it will make them work.
I have now done the flashing.
Cool.
Fabulous.
Right, I hope my mic doesn't sound like garbage because it's positioned like garbage. Hold on, I'm going to fiddle again. Alright, that'll do. Whatever. Unless it adds a new feature, I see BIOS updates and admission of failure by the motherboard engineers. Yesn't.
I mean, hardly.
Yeah, like, once upon a time, you know, BIOS should have been feature complete at the point of release. But that's just not how modern BIOS works anymore. Modern UEFI is a small operating system, so it requires updates and tweaking and fine-tuning. And you can get a lot of improvements and updates by fine-tuning it over time. So, you know, it's just, however, it should be functional on release. The fact, you know, like if these buttons work after doing this update, then yeah, that'd be a pretty big fail that one of the headline features of the motherboard just doesn't work out of the box.
Yeah, I mean, sure.
However, that's not to say that BIOS updates are inherently a failure, but yeah. It's one of those things where, like, you know, the game should be functional on release, but that doesn't mean to say that any updates mean that it was inherently a failure. You forgot to flash ME region. That was done with the BIOS update.
Also, why do I care about the ME region
Yeah.
when I'm talking about buttons on the motherboard?
Yeah, like we did the motherboard update like 10 minutes ago. Give it the times. Although actually, like, I've no idea if the stream... I'm going to check if the stream is laggy, because people had buffering and stuff. I'm just going to check if we're actually millions of days behind schedule. Right, let's... I'm going to refresh that. I'm going to refresh Creator Studio.
Good.
I'm going to wait for the stream to appear. Now would be a good time to insert ads. And I'm going to raise my hand.
I'm going to push this button.
Yeah, no, we're not millions behind. That's fine. Yeah. However, I would advise if no one has, yeah, might be worth doing a refresh if you haven't at any point during this stream. So. Anyone else hear echo? Yeah, the mic setup is bad at the moment just because I've got a power cable coming off of my mic. So, yeah, whatever.
Yes, the bus clock readout is the readout that I should be looking at.
Okay. Oh, it's at 99 now. It has changed.
Yeah, I manually set it to 99.
Oh, okay, that's disappointing. Yeah, but that does, at least that does confirm that the number can change. But the buttons still seem to not work.
Right, go back to the manual.
Okay. Yep.
And in the manual,
Yeah.
with regards to the buttons that were, you know, like page 70 or something.
Yeah, 76 and a bit, I think. Oh, no, that was thing. Yeah, I'm going to have to look it up again.
Yes, scroll down a little bit.
All right,
Yeah,
13.
14, 15, yeah.
So those are Nick Shee's OC
Shee?
button profile. So
Yeah. You actually want the rapid OC button, the one above.
oh yeah, rapid
Yeah.
OC button. Yeah. Okay, right. Let's rapid OC button.
Yeah.
Okay, the motherboard has
Yeah.
19 smart buttons.
Yeah.
Blah 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 blah. Clear CMOS, retry, buffer, BIOS flashback.
Yeah, we need the rapid OC mode.
Yeah, all right. So rapid OC buttons, +1, -1. C allow users to quickly and easily adjust CPU frequency in rapid OC. This
yeah, in
overclocking.
rapid OC, yeah. So how do I get rapid OC?
Okay, yeah. So we need to be in rapid OC mode. Okay.
Yeah, so if you delete the word button out of that search.
Rapid OC.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nope, that's
No
it. There's
idea.
no mention of that. But then it doesn't have a BIOS breakdown. So basically, I guess you've got to search through the UEFI config for rapid OC mode.
Yeah. Which kind of makes sense.
Yeah, it does make sense that it has to be in a specific mode for this to work. Whoop. I'm just going to grab the mic thing.
And put the box on charge.
Yeah, the battery's flat on the box, which is why my mic battery has gone flat. So yeah, that's annoying. I'm just going to check if yours is also low. Oh yeah, yours is on critical as well.
Fair. Right.
To be honest, we haven't charged this for about 10,000 years, so...
So we want rapid OC or something like that.
Yeah.
Also, I'm going to change this from easy mode to advanced mode, so it always goes on that one. Oh, that's kind of nice. You can set it so it always drops you in the OC tweaker page. That's cool. Right.
Is battery replaceable on Rode mics? We use DJI mics these days. We don't have the Rhodes anymore. But like then the mics on these things are the batteries on these kinds of things are not user replaceable. But obviously everything is replaceable if you've got a crowbar, you know.
I need like rapid OC or like easy overclock or something like that.
I would imagine it might be like right at the top is some kind of like, you know...
Yeah, because the only options I've got here are these,
oh yeah,
which are power delivery, and then a
Yeah.
gaming overclocking preset.
Oh yeah, that's. I was assuming one of those one of the options would be rapid OC mode or something like that.
Yeah.
Is there a search in this BIOS?
Not
I'll tell you what, I'm going to Google it.
Not that I'm seeing.
Yeah, JD says he's just checked and he can't find it either. Let's see, ASRock Rapid OC.
Oh, you can disable the temperature lockout for LN2 mode. That's horrifying.
Oh, neat.
That's horrifying.
Yeah, but still, it means, you know, but it's nice that there is an option that says, no, I know what I'm doing, just let me do the thing. If you want to, like...
I disagree.
I mean, it should have a big warning message saying, this is a bad idea, don't do this unless you're willing to explode your CPU, but I think it's nice that it has there.
You have to choose set profile after profile buttons are all done.
Rapid OC software. I think you might need to be running software for this. The problem is Rapid OC is a brand name of ASRock's overclocking features. So when you search for Rapid OC, you get lots
that
of
kind
different
of makes
hits.
sense though.
Yeah, absolutely. But it just means that it's difficult to actually search for things.
The Rapid OC software
Yeah.
I presume there's not a list. There's not a link to it on.
Yeah, hang on a sec. Firmware, download. Let's see.
Because I doubt it.
Rapid storage.
No.
Nope.
Yeah, I doubt it.
No, they've got all the other drivers there, but
yeah, but they won't have.
You can download Norton 360 for gamers.
Yeah.
Oh, it restart to UEFI as well. Neat. No, there's not a lot to see here. So yeah, I would assume then that the Rapid OC software is probably not going to support this board. But like this Rapid OC software that's on just Software Informer, that has been updated this year.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you.
I'll probably have to grab that. And try
Yeah.
that.
Last update July 25th though.
Yeah, but.
Yeah. Turnip Gaming, thank you for the £5. Did you watch Jay's 2 cents video about his Office PC refusing to turn off? I have not. I saw it come out and I was just like, oh yeah, that's a fault I've seen before, but I haven't watched it specifically, no.
Can you, just grab that and we'll have a gander at that?
Yeah, it seems like a real shot in the dark, but yeah. Let's send it, I guess.
Yeah.
Date update 2014. Never mind. It's the information that's been updated recently. I don't think that's worth downloading. I think if there was a new version that worked with this board, it would actually be in the board's download section.
No, it wouldn't be.
Yeah. We've lost a mic again, apparently. Yeah.
The overclocking info would be in there.
Yeah, Mike's.
It will be hidden.
Head on. Okay, Caradog's mic has just gone as well. Hold on, and I'll get a room mic set up. Sorry, folks. The battery in the mic recharge case obviously was dead the last time we put them on charge, so they just didn't charge. So I will sort something out in just a sec. Actually, I'm going to sort that out while you decide. That is not relevant, I don't think. And the problem is the Google search results for this problem are poisoned by virtue of the fact that Rapid OC is a generic term.
Kinda?
Yeah. I'm going to grab a room mic. Stand by, everyone.
How charged is your microphone? If you unplug yours.
Yeah, I mean, it might have crammed a little bit into it.
Seemingly green.
Okay, right. I've just unplugged mine.
Yeah, it's reading like 75%.
Really?
Yeah.
All right, so we might just be able to trade then.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we'll do that in a second. I've just chucked mine onto the power the bank over there. I'll grab it in 2 secs.
Yeah. All right, I'll hold off on this then. Yeah, because if I've managed to put enough charge just to get us through the stream, then we're fine.
Come here.
Okay. Right.
You can get rid of that. Yeah.
Yeah, we're done with that. Yeah. Done with that. That's not helpful. That's not helpful. That's not helpful.
Wild. What I am going to try and do is I can go to... Oh, hold on. Where's the profiles?
Let's try.
Damn it. Out there.
Z890 Rapid OC.
99. And then I'm going to go here. I'm going to go wee. Oh.
Yeah, there's not a lot of talk about it. The only time I can find mention of the Rapid OC is people just quoting specs and saying it has Rapid OC buttons. And it's like, yeah, but how do you use them? How do you make them work? Ah, here's a thread that might be it. I'm on OC 023 right now, still Rapid OC button glowing but not working. Wi-Fi 7 can't start, blah blah blah. So here's someone else complaining that their Rapid OC buttons don't work on this board. Do you want to open up device, when we get back to Windows, open up Device Manager and just check if we're missing stuff. We might need a driver for them to work. And that would make sense if there is, you know, it might be that we need a serial driver that allows the Rapid OC buttons to interact with the board.
Ah!
And JD says Caradog check DMs, which he's currently doing.
You're going to need to be more specific than that, because that's just the download page for the motherboard.
Oh, okay, yeah. Yeah, if you were linking something directly, JD, it did not link directly. It just took us to the downloads page for the board, which we already have. It's called Motherboard Motherboard Unity or Utility. Okay, stand by.
Okay, that kind of makes sense.
Download.
Right, so if I now push this button.
I push this button. Motherboard Utility. Oh, ASRock Motherboard Utility. Yeah, there we go.
That does not change in real time. Okay. But if I close all of that and then go...
Downloading. Right, where's the flash drive?
It's there.
Oh. I'm not saying it's right in front of me, but it was right in front of me. There's a nice little warm spot at the back of the stream PC where the CPU is blowing air, and every time I put my hands there to plug in the flash drive, I'm like, ooh. Oh, yes. Huh. Blammo. All right, and ejecto data travelo. Wah 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 wah.
Right. So.
Okay. So.
Before you plug that in, there you go.
Whoop.
That has not worked very well.
Okay. Are there adamant IT gloves? There are not.
Yet.
Yeah, I do have fingerless gloves, which I quite like. They were featured. I was recording a video where I was wearing them, but the video. I was going to say the video's been thrown out, but I didn't bother recording an ending for the video. It was a Razer laptop with a dead CPU.
It was an unhappy ending.
Yeah, it's another gaming laptop with another high side short and a dead CPU. And so I got that far and was just like, who cares? Who actually cares? That looks fancy. All right, are we progressing now? It's which is a shame because it would have been. Is it working now?
I see, kind of. Yeah.
Okay,
so it's changing.
Right, forget my story. Let's look at this. So what do we got? What's going on here?
Right, at the very least, the 1, 2, and 3 buttons change the user setting
Okay.
So they're changing that user profile there.
Is that now updating hardware info as well? Like, is that changing in real time?
I've no idea. I've
Yeah.
not got that far.
Well, yeah, if you move the window to one
There you
side so
go.
we can actually see hardware info at the same time.
Right, if I click apply on that, that should then have applied. No.
Seems the buttons on the bottom of the board are for user set profiles and the 1, 2, 3 is for using those user settings.
Yes, the user set profiles also just doesn't seem to work because I flicked the switch and selected a different profile to the one I was on and it didn't load it.
Did we actually save any of the...
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Because I know earlier on when we were looking at the 1, 2, 3 buttons, you were saving profiles there, but you weren't actually saving overclocking profiles like you would on a traditional motherboard.
Yeah, I've saved 2 in the like user profiles thing.
Okay,
that have a different
that have a different base clock setting.
bus clock setting. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Right. So at the moment you've got a bus clock set of 89 megahertz. Sorry, you've selected 89 megahertz bus clock, and when you applied that, it didn't change anything. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So when we push a button, oh, it hasn't even selected a different one when we push the button here either.
No, it's selecting a different profile.
Okay. Yeah.
So it's changing it to
Save and then
different one
apply,
of these.
maybe. Yeah.
But yeah.
I'm just going to hide this again just so we can see the apply button. Save and apply. And the bus clock is still 101. So, yeah. Again, let's just check device manager, because if we're missing a whole load of drivers, like, I know this should probably be doing something, but like, yeah, if we're missing a bunch of drivers, then that's probably why things aren't working properly. Ho-hum. Yeah, we should probably solve this before we complain that things don't work. Like,
I mean, sure, but also maybe the motherboard should have included the tools to make itself function.
Yeah, but we haven't even connected to this to the internet.
No, but it's got auto driver install as a thing that you turn on or off in them.
Yeah.
So it should have just popped up and said install driver.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, true. Don't get me wrong. The fact that these are hardware buttons on the motherboard, to me, that suggests that that should be talking directly to the BIOS, regardless. And if all of these are doing is selecting shortcuts in software, then I would be like, well, that's a load of bollocks then, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because if we're doing it in software, why do I care about buttons on the motherboard? But at least we can explain how they're intended to work.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Yeah, JD says see if you can change the ratio. Let's just quickly try doing that. And then, yeah, let's get this thing online and actually get the drivers installed and see if that actually works. Yeah, Newman also says, take a look at system info and ASRock tool, just in case hardware info is too old. I mean, hardware info is on latest, and it seems to be giving us information. And also, the bus clock has reflected what we set it to in BIOS as well. We set the BIOS to 101, and now hardware info is showing 101. So hardware info is showing us up-to-date information.
Yeah, no. Doesn't seem to be changing at all.
Yeah. However, again, like if A tuning is trying to interact with a serial interface to the BIOS, for which the driver is not installed. Whoops. What was that?
Okay, so changing that voltage seems to function.
Okay, so something worked then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. Weird. Fine.
What did you crank it to that caused it to cut out?
I changed it from 0.7 to like 0.8.
Oh, okay, yeah, fine. I saw you grab a slider and do that, and I was like, yeah.
Yeah, it was an adjustment slider from like 0.7 is the lowest to like 0.9 is the highest, it seemed to be. So yeah.
Yeah. summary of what we think about the 7-core 2. Do not buy a modern Intel CPU.
Buy a 12th gen.
Sure, buy a 12th gen.
They're all fine.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's
all of those are fine. All of those are pretty good.
I guess that's kind of modern. Yeah.
The
buy a 3-generation old Intel CPU. Yeah.
The 13400 is fine.
Yeah.
And presumably the 14400.
But also
well.
you could also buy AMD and be on AM5 where you're going to see socket support for the next 5 years. So just how it like there some of the if you look at just CPUs, there are some Intel CPUs which are completely fine. But when you look at the platform as a whole, I think you have to be absolutely insane to buy Intel right now. Because if you buy into AMD, you're buying into AM5 and you'll be able to pick and choose whatever CPU you want for the next 5 years. And we know that that's how it's going to play out because that's how it played out for AM4. AMD have got a very strong track record right now for supporting platforms. So yeah. Marcel says, see, I'm insane then. Yes, if you're buying Intel right now, to be brutally honest, I think so. Yeah, because you've got to buy an old generation that's on a motherboard that won't see any new CPUs. So even if you buy you can look at like the 14.5, the 14th Gen i5 and stuff like that and be like, yeah, the CPU is well priced and its performance is competitive for its price point. But you're dropping it into a motherboard that's a complete dead end. Which means when you want to change it again, that's going to be a new motherboard, sonny. Whereas if you go AMD, you could buy a 7600K because that's what a 7600X because that's what you can afford right now. But you're going to put that into a motherboard that you could put a 9800X3D into next year when they get a price drop or something. You can't do that with Intel. There's no upgrade with Intel.
Okay.
Unless you went from an i5 to an i7, but no one is going to do that. Whereas with AMD, CPU upgrades are actually real. AM4 is still usable. Absolutely, but it's a dead end. Basically, if you've got less than £1,000 to spend on a brand new computer today, you build a 5700X3D on AM4. However, if you've got more than £1,000 to spend, so you're spending, say, $1,200, $1,500, then you buy AM5, DDR5, and you put in whatever CPU you can afford based on the graphics card. And this time in a couple of years, because you're on AM5, you'll be able to buy whatever the new hotness is from AMD and drop it straight into your motherboard. You won't be able to do that with Intel. That is why Intel doesn't make any sense right now. They've got some CPUs that are fine for their price point, but AMD are offering such a better platform right now because they actually have future-proofing. You can future-proof your motherboard. It's real.
Yeah, you just buy the B650 HDV.
Yeah, all you have to do is buy a half-decent B650 or better motherboard, and you can upgrade your CPU in a few years. Does AMD have something similar to QuickSync? Yeah, they do. I'm not sure if the AMD built-in CPUs have it because they've got a dire graphics.
It's just full Radeon graphics.
Oh yeah.
It's just 2 CUs instead of.
Yeah, but does
36.
it have hardware encoding though?
It's 2 full CUs. It's just a 2 CU graphics card instead of 36.
Okay, but do the CUs?
It is a full graphics card. It has all the features that an AMD graphics card has.
So yes,
it's a full graphics card.
Okay, so yes, you do have video encoding. Yeah. Yeah.
No, that isn't it either. Fine. The board has.
We're in a recession, Graham. AM4 going. Yeah, that's what I said. If you've got less than £1,000 to spend, then yeah, you buy AM4. But yeah.
The board has an external clock gen as well, so you can set that so you're only changing Start that again. Because the BCLK sets the SATA speed, the PCI speed, the memory speed, etc., an external clock gen allows you to change only the processor's base frequency. Clock. I've set this to the external clock gen. And that hasn't changed anything either.
Yeah, that's a good try. Yeah, but it still hasn't worked.
But it is a case of basically it seems like these buttons are functionally software buttons, not hardware buttons.
Yeah. So
and
like
therefore are basically not useful.
Yeah. Like I still think we should just like connect it to the internet and let it get the drivers installed to see if that fixes the problem, just so we can see them do something. Because otherwise, right now they just don't work.
Yeah. I'll need you to grab the drivers for something.
I'll tell you what. I'll just give you
it's here.
I'll just give you that, because that'll just work out the gate. Yeah. Mainly just because, like, because if we see them work in software, at least we can go, okay, well, that's them working as intended, which isn't really very useful, and I'm kind of disappointed in that, to be honest. I'm sad about that.
Yeah.
Because, like I said, these
OCs... there we go. Wild.
Yeah, these OC nudge buttons, these have existed on boards for a long time, and I've always been curious as to whether they're good or not. And I really hoped that would actually be a hardware thing. And I'm kind of disappointed that they're basically just software buttons, because it's just like, if you need the software open, then you just do it in software. So that's a bit lame.
Yeah.
But I guess, like JD...
Oh, no.
Oh, damn it.
How have you run out of memory?
I don't know.
What?
There's something leaking memory here.
No.
No. All right, well, rip Chrome, I guess.
Good job.
Yeah. All right. Okay, where was I? So, as JD pointed out, the dip switches at the bottom are supposed to be our hardware profile switches. So that explains why there's two sets of buttons.
Hold on.
One of them is hardware, one of them is software.
SoC can't be auto-embossed. Right, I'm not going to install anything. I'm just going to change that quickly. Oops. Or no? Okay, whatevs.
With the hardware, with the dip switches down at the bottom of the motherboard and those ones up the top, if the dip switches are actually working, then that would make sense. But we haven't gotten those going. But we haven't tried too hard with those yet, because we were focusing on the other ones.
Yeah, it doesn't seem to quite work either in the way that I was expecting.
Yeah.
Just because flicking the dip switch doesn't seem to make it load that profile.
Yeah. So the test that you did for that, I assume you saved a setting in that profile, then changed it and saved it, and then tried to load the profile with the dip switch.
I saved two profiles with different settings.
Yeah.
And then loaded one of them.
Yeah.
Went to Windows. It applied the setting.
Yeah.
Shut the computer down. Set the dip switch to the other one.
Yeah.
Loaded Windows.
And it hadn't changed.
Hadn't changed.
Oh, yeah.
So what, this one, Gaming OC preset? Or second from top SoC?
Who are you calling a dip switch? You, pre-revenue.
You're live. Thanks, YouTube.
Yeah. See, this is the thing. The reason why I'm bothered by this is that we're sort of lauding this. We were praising this motherboard for having all these fancy toys, and I wanted to look at them to see how they work. But it seems like we've encountered a lot of these toys that don't actually seem to do anything, because like overclockers always complain about overclocking motherboards that don't have any overclocking features. And well, here's a board with all the overclocking features, but
I mean, kinda.
Kind of, yeah. I know. I'm kind of generalizing here, but you know. But like, what good are they if they don't actually do anything? So, like, what we've learned is the fancy buttons are basically useless.
Yeah.
And if the dip switches don't work either, well, those are basically useless. So it's cool that it's got a good BIOS, and we could do all of our overclocking in BIOS, but you can do that on any motherboard effectively. So yeah, so basically, what I'm learning here is that when we're shopping for motherboards, having all of those buttons and switches probably isn't actually worth anything.
Yeah.
Lots of the fancy toys are only there for when anything is in manual anyway. And if it's in manual anyway, then again, you're probably changing things in BIOS. So yeah. Again, I'm trying to figure out why these buttons need to exist if they just change software stuff. Set it to 100 megahertz, whatever that was. Yeah, that's what we've just done. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
RTFM, we've been doing that, Marcel.
What I was doing, JD, was here for the BCLK source. I had it set to 100 with compute die. Internal BCLK is the one that was selected. And then I changed it to sync with SoC because the SoC was the one that had an option for an external one. That was all. That was the only reason I tried that config as well. Yeah, I've just manually set those two, so we'll see if that does anything. And then yeah, I'll use the updater just to update that.
Fair enough. After that, well, if the profile switches are a bit of a bust, is there any other bits and pieces that we can play with on it? Otherwise, we're just into just actually doing some overclocking, which I don't think we're not super interested in doing today. We're mainly just looking to explore the physical features of the motherboard, but are there any other physical features that we could explore?
I don't think so, not really.
Yeah.
Because but like it was nice to see that I could just set the RAM to 8400 and just go.
Yeah. Oh, and JD said, these software buttons are still useful because we can change things without having to reboot into BIOS. So
to avoid cold boot bugs. But it's just a case of it doesn't look like that changed it either.
Yeah. Have we got drivers yet?
No, but we were just saying that. Oh, is it because that's set to auto?
Okay, yeah.
And
I know I'm repeating myself, but also like complaining that stuff doesn't work while you don't have drivers installed is, yeah. It's kind of like complaining that your trackpad doesn't work when you don't have the chipset serial driver installed. It's like, well, yeah, if it doesn't have the bus that it's trying to communicate with installed, then it ain't going to work.
Yeah, oh, that's a good point as well.
NPU.
Yeah. Need to remember to install the NPU drivers in the future. Assuming Intel is able to launch a new generation after this.
Oof. Yeah, and if any of it ends up being useful or used.
Yeah. Yeah, thanks, JD. Here's a driver for your ME.
Maybe. I watched the MKBHD video about how far Apple Intelligence has gotten so far, or more specifically, how far it hasn't gotten. Where he did a video where
surprising.
He did a quote unquote honest review of Apple Intelligence as it is today, and the TLDR is everything that Apple Intelligence is currently capable of doing is basically a gimmick that no one cares about, like AI generated emojis, and it's got like a picture playground thing where it can generate a cartoon picture of a person who you have photographs of, like from your iPhotos, and you can say, and you can add in keywords like, at a disco and things like that, and it creates a cartoon picture. But again, this is just a gimmick. It only will do cartoon style, because obviously otherwise you're opening up a whole can of worms of generating AI art of someone.
Yeah.
So, MKBHD was just like, I've opened this to make this video and I don't think I'll ever look at this ever again, kind of thing. And I'm like, yeah, basically.
Yeah.
Apparently all of the writing assistant stuff is an interesting thing where it can adjust the tone of your writing and stuff. But he said, as a professional writer, I am not finding any of this actually useful.
Yeah.
And all of the bits that deal with summarizing are a bit hit and miss. The one thing he did say is that the AI, the Apple Intelligence features for removing objects from photos is better than Google's one and the best one he's seen. But also, that's slightly interesting. Yeah. But yeah, TLDR, basically Apple Intelligence is not really doing a whole lot yet. And I thought this was interesting. And as Pixels thing.
I was going to say, the Pixel Studio, you can run on any of the Pixels and it will do entirely that.
Is this doing it on device?
Yeah. This is
that's
all
cool.
on device generated.
Yeah, because I was going to say...
these might not be. These might have been off device, generated on another Pixel, and just you're downloading the picture.
Yeah.
Because these are the preset ones.
Yeah, because one of the other
but all of the AI generation you describe, it does itself.
Yeah. Because partly the other part I thought was slightly interesting is the fact that all of this stuff is being done on device, which is cool. However, the TLDR of it, and the reason why my takeaway from this video that I thought was interesting, the reason why I bring it up, is that at the moment it's a case of if Apple have not actually found a way to integrate this in a useful and interesting way, I feel like this is proof that it's just not useful. If not even Apple has managed to find a use for it. Apple tend to be late to the party with features, but they tend to implement things in a really good way when they do it. Where Apple are late, but they show up with really good stuff.
Yeah.
And Apple are late to the AI party, and they haven't shown up with anything interesting either. That was my takeaway from this.
Yeah, but that was generated on device.
Cool.
But it's just a case of, it's all on device.
So,
The thing I do like... because the other things, I don't know. I think some of the stuff is kind of, just interesting, kind of seeing what it's doing.
Yeah.
I don't know how far I go with regards to statements of being useful. But certainly, some stuff is interesting, and
I think my resistance to this is just the AI generation. There are times when that can be useful, despite my opinions on AI art as a whole, and I have opinions on it. There are times, I can think of instances where there are useful uses for it, But my resistance for this comes at a point with how hard everyone is pushing AI as the future and these headline features for everything when it's just a party trick.
Yeah.
All the uses for it we're seeing, it's just a party trick. And everything is being sold with a party trick as a headline feature.
Yeah.
And this is the thing. Now Apple has come along and it's like, cool, all right. What's Apple found that we can do with this? It's a party trick again.
Yeah. I've played around with Copilot Plus because it's included in our Office 365.
Yeah.
And just... chucked in emails and stuff and got it to generate kind of replies and things like that. And it's just been interesting kind of, seeing it as kind of an amalgamation of 7 billion people's writings and kind of seeing about differences in style and things like that. It's kind of it's interesting for me for that to kind of see, the way it, to get it right, to write in different styles and to do things like that, and kind of the way that Copilot has spread out into Editor as well, to make the the grammar and spelling check in Word.
Yeah.
The next version of that is editor. And that is, it's very American, but but as a kind of a preview of that, it is better, at least in what I've seen and what I've, because it's the default one in Outlook Web.
Yeah.
And kind of that is much better. And like, I'm not saying it's good or bad or any other comment, but just a case of it's certainly massively improved those spelling and grammar suggestions and things like that. So I'm not saying that requires obviously all of the energy expenditure and so on that everything else is doing.
Yeah.
But I can certainly see how we're going to see lots of hidden uses for it. Lots of background things that it improves.
Maybe it's just not for me as well, because for me, I'm just like, okay, but what problem is this solving? Are you unable to write an email? Can you not find the words? And you need someone to help you with that kind of thing? And I guess, like, for me, that's not an issue. My issue with emails is just my inability to function. Like, if I actually start writing, I'm a good writer. But
my issue with emails is my inability to function.
Yeah, but here's the thing. Like, someone, I was talking to someone about how much I hate reading and replying to emails. I can't bear it. And someone was just like, have you thought of using ChatGPT for that? And it's just like, oh, I see. Like, I could just do an AI generated email response, so I don't have to deal with that.
Kind of, yeah.
And you think sort of, okay, well, are you onto something there? But also just like, well, no, because that's not my issue. As soon as I actually hit reply, I can be like, yeah, blah blah blah. Thank you very much. Send email. I don't have an issue doing the writing. It's just having the energy to read the message, comprehend the message, and then decide what I want to do about it. I still have to operate the AI to get that to do it for me. But then perhaps there's other people who are like, oh, I can't find the words, or I've done fan fiction editing for people who are not good writers, and perhaps those are the intended audience for people who are just bad at writing and can't form decent sentences and need an AI to spruce up their writing for them, So yeah. Oppo AI is quite useful. I take it that's as in Oppo phone's AI. What feature are you using, and like, how is it useful to you? Genuine question, Right. We have drivers, and I take it it's still not doing anything.
No.
Welp. I guess we would just have to theorize.
That does.
Ah, okay, yeah.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, so the
A-tuning
tuning program works.
Kind of does, yeah.
Yeah, but the buttons aren't talking to the software.
But the buttons don't really do anything.
Yeah. Fine. I assume there's a bug in that somewhere, and yeah, if we were to troubleshoot that, it would interact with the software, which is slightly easier than using your mouse to interact with the software, I guess.
What I'd imagine it's supposed to do, so in the same way...
Does it apply base clock? Yes, because we've just crashed.
Like for when you're running, time spa, something like that, when you're really right on the bleeding edge, you might have like 9 different profiles, which you're like, oh, this part of the benchmark, this profile. Oh, now we're just about to come offload this profile, this power setting.
Oh,
so
yeah.
So your quick setting during parts of a benchmark run.
Yeah.
Different profiles.
Yeah. So let's say you're running 3D Mark, which is going through several benchmark things. You hit a loading screen for the next one, and you go profile 2, bam, apply. Kind of thing.
And what would have been useful is the button just applying the profile, obviously.
Yeah.
So you can switch between those three, because you might be,
That makes sense.
you might have 2 parts of a benchmark where one part is very memory bandwidth sensitive. So you have, your profile is pushed slightly towards the memory bandwidth side, and then you get into a compute side, so you're loading stuff into memory and so on.
Yeah.
Oh god, what the hell does Intel burn test and stuff use? What's the maths it's doing actually in the back? Limpack. Limpack, with the way that loads up into RAM and then gets executed on and so on.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a case of switching between, different profiles for that to tweak that when you're in the 0.1% kind of thing.
So
that kind of thing.
Yeah, that kind of makes sense then, is having those profiles, because that would justify having a quick button that changes the sliders quickly for you. So okay, that makes more sense. So that's not as satisfying as we were looking for, but at least we understand why it exists then.
Kind of, yeah. I understood why it existed, but I just don't understand why it doesn't seem to function in a way that's actually useful for
I was going to say, it's disappointing that we haven't actually made it work.
Yeah.
So okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, on account that we haven't been able to make the dip switches work, that's been a bit of a disappointing show for the hardware features of this motherboard. The actual capabilities of it seem fine. It certainly banged up to high memory speeds straight away. The BIOS itself seems pretty decent. I'm just disappointed that the toys don't work very well, or perhaps not. Well, the toys don't work very well, because even though we've explained what the buttons do, we still couldn't get them to work.
Yeah.
Which is disappointing. I think I think past that might be us done.
Cool, that's not locked up.
Yeah. So if you set it to just like 101 or something,
it will crash.
Oh, okay, yeah,
because 100.4 crashed.
Oh, did it? Oh, I see. Yeah.
Yeah. That's why I'm doing really small amounts at the moment.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, we're doing increments that are kind of too small to see in hardware info at the moment.
The point should change.
Yeah.
Because it does when you set it in BIOS.
Oh, interesting. Okay, yeah.
No, fine.
Yeah. What's the target for today? 3-hour stream again? Yeah, well, we're just past the 3-hour marker, and I think we're out of content here because, we kind of gave it the benefit of the doubt, but we're not really making progress. So I think we're about done.
Yeah, because it is kind of applying, because it's making it crash, but it's also just not applying otherwise.
Certainly, there's obviously a world where all of this can be made to work, but it seems to require a lot of finagling to make it work. It's also possible that perhaps some of this works better in other versions of Windows, because people who are shooting for records are often running Windows 7 still, for example. So maybe it's just been tested on other versions of Windows.
Yeah.
But interesting.
Yeah. Weird.
Yeah, might be worth trying motherboard default BIOS settings. Well, that's where we started off from.
Yeah, that's.
Or were you going for a reset as a last thing?
No, it was just that JD said something and I didn't see that before I shut down.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So I'll just double check that.
Very well.
But yeah, we basically went from default and then manually set stuff, going through and kind of a cycle, seeing if something had to be specifically set, but I can't see. The only other thing as well is there's that like gaming optimize mode, which I will just enable.
Yeah.
And see if that changes anything, because I forgot about that one.
Yeah.
But then after that,
it's not super clear what that gaming profile actually does, which I was a bit sad about, because I was just like, what does that do? What does that do? And then when we actually looked at it, it was just like, not a whole lot. JD says, are you going to be taking this one home or leaving it in the shop?
I'll leave it here for now.
Very well.
Does this have a BCK? Oh yeah, there is a BCLK readout there. Right, so if I just hit no, that's not changed anything there either.
JD says, gonna force me to buy a CPU. I'm gonna have to buy an Intel CPU.
He has this motherboard.
Yeah, I was sort of getting that from context. I was like, JD, why have you bought this motherboard but not a CPU for it?
Because he's too poor.
I see.
CPU has to come next month.
I see. Very well.
Ah.
How much did we pay for the motherboard and CPU? So the motherboard was 420. How much was the chip?
400?
For the i7. Yeah. Fair enough. Yeah, yeah. But also, like, this CPU is terrible at gaming. Don't buy this CPU. The reason why we're looking, the reason why anyone care, well, the only people who actually care about the Core Ultras are overclockers because they're interesting from an overclocking perspective.
Yeah.
That's why we have this one here today.
Yeah.
Not because they're actually any good whatsoever at gaming. Like
Yeah.
this is why all the new Intel chips got absolutely annihilated in the reviews because they're bad at gaming, and like
and general desktop compute and so on.
Yeah, and for the vast majority of people who are like, well, I don't play games, it's just like, well, in that case, you buy in that case you buy a 12th gen i5, and that's all you need.
In productivity, it's fine. Or
Yeah.
you can buy a 12th gen for half the price and get the same performance.
Yeah,
Or you can buy
an AMD and get more performance.
and get the same performance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Was I successful? I haven't sorted out the motherboards yet. The dead motherboards. That's on the to-do list. Because I was away last weekend, everything kind of stood still for a bit because I spent last week going, I'm away this weekend, I have to plan for that. And then I spent this week going, I've just got back from being away, I have to catch up. So I haven't actually gotten anything done, basically.
No, I don't get it.
Sag. All right. I have enjoyed this conversation in English.
Yeah. It's weird. What? Why?
You could set your base clock to 649.99.
Why?
Hit apply and just explode the whole thing.
Oh, there we go. No.
Are you sure you want to set that?
Right, so if I do that and then click apply. Okay, no. So it's at least aware that this is a thing that does stuff. But like...
Fine. Yeah. I think we're done here. We haven't actually we haven't managed to progress anything for about an hour.
Yeah.
Which is frustrating because it's just like that's the source of the sadness here is we bought the things that have the fancy toys but the toys don't actually seem to work, and it's like, well, what was the point in that then, you know?
Yeah, it'll be the ratio tuning control. That'll
Yeah.
be the thing.
I'm sure
And the
there's a world
voltage.
where these can be made to
Yeah.
work, but it's clearly esoteric and requires a lot of fiddling, and I'm like, that seems kind of stupid. It shouldn't be this difficult to make it work.
Yeah, it's mostly these three, and then this one
Yeah,
that you're really going to care about.
yeah,
It's just setting the ratio, setting the offset voltage.
yeah. It's Ghost Spectre related, missing other parts of Windows. I mean, I don't think so, because I can't think of any Windows features that might be missing that would interact with this.
Yeah.
Like,
But it's
know,
also the case, so it's not the first time we've had this issue.
yeah, like I could see it being
Just
a driver issue,
motherboards,
but
but
like
yeah.
we've installed the drivers for it, and
Yeah.
that hasn't helped either.
But yeah, I will give it a go on a different installer Windows anyway,
Fair enough. Yeah,
and just see what that does.
yeah.
So I presume you've got a
maybe-
Windows 10 flash drive somewhere.
Yeah. So we could, you could just bash 10 on it and see if that does anything.
Yeah, I'll give that a go.
Very well.
Cool.
All right. Past that, we're going to wrap up. I'm cold and bored.
Indeed.
If I'm honest.
Well, yeah.
So yeah. Right. Thank you all for tuning in. Yeah.
Unfortunate.
Yeah. Fun motherboard. Yeah. Maybe in the future we'll have more stuff to do with this. Because at the very least, it was kind of exciting when we initially turned it on. It's just like, oh, look at that. The memory just bangs straight up to full speed.
Yeah.
You know, I sense good things from this, from that perspective.
Absolutely.
So that's not to say that the motherboard and CPU are crap,
Yeah.
but I was interested in the hardware, features, and I'm kind of disappointed that those don't seem to work very well.
Yeah. I
So
mean, it got straight up to 8600 without any effort, which
Yeah.
is an interesting
that's it.
proposition. Oh yeah, there's no onboard video out. I hadn't
Isn't there?
considered that. No.
Oh. I guess if you're overclocking though, you're not going to be using the iGPU.
Probably not, but just surprised because obviously.
You think they put it on there anyway? Because
Yeah, just because
it doesn't cost anything.
Just because there are hardware points for iGPU overclocking on HWBot, so yeah.
Who knows? Well, thanks for tuning in, everyone. We'll be back next week with something else.
Indeed.
See you all
then.
soon. Right,
Stay
toodaloo,
safe.
everyone.
Goodbye.
Oh no! Oh, YouTube Studio crashed there as well. I'm loading YouTube Studio so I can end the stream. We're ending the stream.
We're leaving. Goodbye.
In before you're not signed in. All right, we did it.